95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
It is 12 o'clock on this Thursday, May 15th. Good afternoon. I'm Sabrina Cupid. The news here at noon is sponsored by Jim Ellis Automotive. Our top local story is happening right now, and it could impact your drive. We have now learned that repair work could take several more days after a big sinkhole opened up on a busy roadway in downtown Atlanta.
Atlanta Watershed Management says pavement on Shirley Franklin Boulevard in southwest Atlanta collapsed due to work from a private contractor. They were excavating on the next block, which caused an abandoned line to fill with water, made worse by recent rain. Crews are capping the line and anticipate traffic patterns will return to normal by the weekend. Multiple lanes of Shirley Franklin Boulevard are closed near the state capitol between Rawson Street and Memorial Drive. Traffic control measures are in place to get around the work zone, but expect heavy delays in the area. Bill Caiaccio, 95.5 WSB.
Thank you, Bill. Your weather for today, partly cloudy and warm, highs around 87. No rain in the forecast today. When will it return, and just how hot is it going to get? WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards will have Atlanta Radio's only 5-day forecast coming up at 12:05. A police officer is in the hospital this noon injured after a driver is arrested for a crash in a work zone on I-20.
DeKalb police respond to reports of a wreck in the eastbound lanes of I-20 near Wesley Chapel Road.
On arrival, investigators learned an off-duty officer from another agency had been working a part-time job in a work zone when another driver hit his patrol car.
Blaine Clark with DeKalb police says the officer was injured and taken to the hospital. The driver now in custody, charged with DUI. The injured officer was there as protection for DOT work crews. Graham Carroll, 95.5 WSB.
To Gwinnett County now, where it took a jury there just 35 minutes to find an Auburn man guilty of a sexual assault of a woman. The incident happened back in 2022. 53-year-old Christopher Raymond Clamp forced himself into the woman's home, beat her repeatedly, sexually assaulted her, and held her against her will for 2 days. He's now behind bars this afternoon. He's been sentenced to life plus 90 years. New this hour, the Clayton County School District is the latest to send out a warning now about that TikTok Chromebook challenge. In a letter to parents, the district tells them that their children could be injured and face financial and disciplinary action if they take part. The challenge encourages students to damage school-issued Chromebooks by jamming metal objects into USB ports. It can cause electrical shorts, sparks, and even fires. Check the pantry. Publix issuing a voluntary baby food recall. It impacts certain 4-ounce pouches of the retailer's Green Wise pear, kiwi, spinach, and pea baby food. Publix says the pouches have the potential to be contaminated with elevated levels of lead. The affected products have a best if used by date of November 1st of this year. They were sold in several states, including here in Georgia. The baby food can be returned to Publix for a full refund. The Supreme Court is hearing arguments in a case today challenging the power of federal judges to block President Trump's bid to end birthright citizenship. In its opening statements to the justice, Solicitor General John Sauer outlined what he described as the dangers of nationwide injunctions.
They operate asymmetrically, forcing the government to win everywhere while the plaintiffs can win anywhere.
On the first day of his second term, President Trump signed an executive order that denies citizenship to children born on U.S. soil whose parents are here illegally. 3 federal judges have issued a nationwide injunction to block the administration from enforcing the executive order. Well, as the world's largest retailer announces price hikes because of tariffs, one expert says this is just the beginning.
Walmart plans to raise prices on some goods before the end of the month, and WSB consumer advisor Clark Howard says this opens the door for other major retailers to make similar announcements, and it won't just impact the standard price.
I think what you'll see is that retailers will be less oriented towards sales and promotions as a way, a backdoor way of absorbing some of the tariff impacts.
He also says it's unlikely prices will quickly fall to pre-tariff levels should deals be reached internationally. Austin Eller, 95.5 WSB.
Georgia's unemployment rate holding steady.
The state labor department says Georgia's April unemployment rate is 3.6%. That's 0.6 lower than the national unemployment rate. The accommodations and food services sector saw the most job growth last month. The biggest job losses came in information services. Labor Commissioner Barbara Rivera-Holmes says Georgia's sustained economic success via its labor force is a testament to the power of collaboration between the state government, business leaders, and communities. Cheryl Castro, 95.5 WSB.
Let's check your investments as we take a look at Wall Street. The Dow is in positive territory. So is S&P. NASDAQ, though, is down slightly. Time now for live team coverage of traffic and weather. Alex Williams from the WSB 24-hour Traffic Center. He has a look at your lunchtime roads.
And a new travel advisory out of Fairburn up into Union City if you're trying to get up to the airport for that midday flight. Crash 85 northbound before Flat Shoals, exit 66. Just north of Highway 138. 2 left lanes are knocked out. Use Highway 29. Earlier stall downtown, 75, 85 northbound before I-20. That's cleared out of the center lane. Some lingering volume, though, from Highway 166. And tapping the brakes southbound out of Midtown down past North Avenue. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
And it's time now for Atlanta Radio's only 5-day forecast, sponsored here at noon by Shoemate, the official air conditioning of Atlanta. Here's WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards with your 5-day forecast.
Partly cloudy, warm and humid this afternoon. High 87. That's trending 6 degrees above average for today. Lows tonight in the mid-60s. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, highs in the upper 80s to low 90s. The record high for tomorrow afternoon is 91. Saturday, watching for morning rain showers and thunderstorms, then cloudy through the afternoon. High 85. Sunday and Monday, mostly cloudy with scattered storms. Highs in the mid to upper 80s.
And as we take a look at WSB Storm Tracker radar, it is rain-free right now. Mostly cloudy skies. In Tucker, 76 degrees. Stone Mountain has 77, and Stockbridge has 78 degrees. Here in Midtown Atlanta, we have more clouds than sun and 77 degrees on Peachtree Street. We'll have more news at 12:30, breaking news when it happens. I'm Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
Here we go, friends. It's the 5K a day bonus blitz. Your noon keyword is stock. STOCK, stock. Enter the keyword stock into the WSB Radio app or at WSBradio.com/cash. You have until 12:30 p.m. to enter the keyword, win $1,000. The keyword is stock. STOCK, stock. Don't forget, if you get a phone call after 12:30 from a number you don't recognize, answer it. Could be us telling you you won $1,000. Your noon keyword is stock. STOCK. Good luck.
Hello, America. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the nation. The phone number, 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, delighted to have you. If you text the word Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777, you can get the live stream, the show notes, the podcast, all that. If you go to ericerickson.com, we've embedded a player, so wherever you are, you can listen to the show. We've got to begin with the United States Supreme Court. They are hearing arguments today in the birthright citizenship case. And this case is not going the way some people wanted it to go. I have to pause here. And I've got to, I got to say something, and I mean it very respectfully, though I'm learning that it's not going to be taken very respectfully to some who hear this. And again, I don't mean disrespect here, but there is a class of person, they tend to be a little older, and they get very, very emotional about birthright citizenship, and they have done their own research. Some of them are lawyers, and they have done their own research. We have a couple who call the program very angrily every time the issue comes up and are very insistent they are right and everyone else is wrong. And again, it doesn't matter how I say it short of affirming them. They're going to be very hot-headed and angry about it if you disagree with them. They're very insistent, and emotion has trumped reason at this point. Let me just give you the breakdown here. Since the Wong Kim Ark decision in the 1890s, this country has interpreted the citizenship clause of the 14th Amendment to mean if you come into the country, you give birth in the country with limited exception, that child born here is an American citizen. There is language in the 14th Amendment that people have interpreted to preclude illegal immigrants. The original author of the 14th Amendment in the Senate suggested that transient people in this country it would not apply to. The language is all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. Now, what people who say the Section 1 of Article of the 14th Amendment don't apply to illegal aliens say is, well, illegal aliens are not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. We have been getting this wrong since the 1890s. The Wong Kim Ark decision very specifically involved parents who were legal residents of the United States. They were essentially green card holders. They were allowed into the country. They were Chinese. They had been given permission to be in the country. Their child was born in this country. They eventually repatriated to China. Their child went back to China to visit them. At the time, there was growing animosity towards Chinese immigrants. When the child, Wong Kim Ark, came back, Customs Office said, "You're not an American citizen. You can't come in." The Supreme Court said actually his parents, they were lawfully allowed to be here at the time. He, therefore, was born as an American citizen because they were subject to the jurisdiction thereof. And so the people who say we begin it wrong say, well, the difference is Wong Kim Ark's parents were legally allowed to be in the United States. Now, if you read the Wong Kim Ark decision, they go through a history at the time of birthright citizenship. And one of the distinctions is if you are on a ship at sea in international water and you were born, your citizenship goes where your parents are, not to the country under whose flag you're sailing on. But also in the British Empire at the time, the system from which we are derived, if you are passing through a British imperial territory and you give birth, your child is a subject to the crown of Great Britain, even if you're transient. That was one of the key distinctions, and they pointed that out in the case, which is a lot of the reason why people have come to the conclusion that illegal aliens are subject. The other is the phrase subject to the jurisdiction thereof, and what does that mean? Let me give you this contrast. If you are a diplomat in this country from a foreign government, you are an ambassador, the child of an ambassador, the spouse of an ambassador. You have diplomatic immunity. If you are in if you go out and get drunk, and you're in a car crash and you kill someone, you cannot be charged with vehicular homicide. You are instead thrown out of the country because you are not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. You have diplomatic immunity. Now, oftentimes what will happen in those cases is that the foreign country will say, we're surrendering that person's diplomatic immunity so they can have charges pressed. But that country has to decide. We don't get to decide. If you're an invading army in this country, you don't respect the jurisdiction of the United States. Now, contrast the person with diplomatic immunity to an illegal alien who gets drunk, gets behind the wheel, causes someone to die. That person goes to jail. Why? Because they are subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. We don't have to wait for the foreign country to surrender their immunity. We can prosecute them. And therefore, that is why most people who have studied the 14th Amendment say, yeah, the children born of illegal aliens, the illegal aliens actually are subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. If they break the law here, they get punished here. And like a diplomat. Now, the minority says, no, it's different. And I understand and respect their decision. I think they're wrong. I understand the argument. The problem is the people in the minority feel so put down on that they're convinced they're right and they're in the minority that they get very hostile to anyone who disagrees with them on the case. And they want you to know they've done their own research and they've studied it. That's fine. I respect that. And I understand you put 10 lawyers in a room, you're probably going to get 15 different opinions. But the majority consensus since Wong Kim Ark, largely because of the dicta, not the court ruling, dicta is opinion of the court that's not binding, highlights the fact that in the 1800s, if you transited through a country and gave birth in most of Europe, and particularly the British Empire, from which you're descended, your child becomes a subject of the crown of that country, and they viewed it the same way. Most interestingly today, however, the case before the United States Supreme Court about birthright citizenship is not really getting into any of that, and it's frustrating people who want it to be about birthright citizenship. What is actually coming before the court today is the universal injunction portion of the argument. The court is far more inclined to entertain the arguments on universal injunctions. Why? There have been 40 universal injunctions imposed on Donald Trump in his first 120-odd days of being president of the United States, more than any other president. Most of those 40 injunctions come from 5 judges. In other words, there's something called forum shopping, where you go find the forum, the court, most likely to be favorable to your arguments. You ensure there's a judge there who's going to hear your case, and well, you're probably going to be able to get a universal injunction that applies to everyone everywhere. The court has been frustrated. Both sides, interestingly enough, have been frustrated with the growing use of universal injunctions. You'll not be surprised to learn that today it is the progressives on the court who seem much more amenable to them than the conservatives, as opposed to when Biden was president. It was the liberals on the court complaining about the shadow docket. What is the shadow docket of the United States Supreme Court? That is when the court in the middle of the night makes decisions. There aren't arguments. There aren't hearings. It's not public. They're deciding things behind the scenes, often very rapidly. And the progressives on the court have complained about the shadow docket for years. Now suddenly they're quite fine with the shadow docket because that's where a lot of these cases involving universal injunctions go. Justice Alito, speaking for many on the court and not just the conservatives on the court, has expressed frustration that district court judges are monarchs of their realm. Appellate court judges and the Supreme Court are not. They've got multiple parties on a court, but a district judge is all alone. And the district judge all alone gets to make decisions. He's the king of his realm. And if he decides that you get a universal injunction, you get a universal injunction. And most often, an appellate court does not question the district court's use of a universal injunction. It's got to make it to the Supreme Court. And then they use the shadow docket. And then when it's a progressive president, the progressives get mad. When it's a conservative president, the conservatives get mad with all the frustrations. And the courts have largely had enough. Sonia Sotomayor got so heated in the argument that John Roberts had to rein her in. She kept interrupting him. And he has now finally had to go to asking the justices if they have questions in the case, instead of just letting them interrupt each other, because Sonia Sotomayor wouldn't stop interrupting. Passions are very high on both issues, birthright citizenship and on universal injunctions. The Supreme Court seems very sympathetic to the idea that instead of using universal injunctions, use class action lawsuits. The Solicitor General is arguing to make class action lawsuits. They've been talking a lot in this case about something called a Bill of Peace. Now, I am not going to pretend to be an expert on Bill of Peace. I was a lawyer. I did do constitutional law, but I'll just give you the basics here. The conservatives say Bill of Peace is a very old English law thing that was transported into American common law, and the conservatives say it evolved into class action lawsuits. And in fact, there are Supreme Court precedents that refer to the Bill of Peace as the genesis of a class action lawsuit. The progressives on the court today, despite prior Supreme Court cases saying as much, are very insistent it was actually the predecessor to the universal injunction, and that although we've only been having universal injunctions since the 1960s by that name, they actually go back to the beginning of the country. The conservatives are saying, no, actually what goes back to the beginning of the country was something akin to a class action lawsuit. A class action lawsuit is handled differently. It's more subject to appellate review earlier in the case without having to go to the Supreme Court. And universal injunctions largely have to make it all the way to the Supreme Court to get heard. Here's my guess. My guess is that those of you who want resolution on birthright citizenship and the Supreme Court today are going to be disappointed. In fact, there have been several questions from the justices about birthright citizenship, but most of the questions have been about universal injunction. And my suspicion is what's going to happen is that they're going to punt the case back to the district court for resolution after dealing with the universal injunction situation. And my guess for the progressives is you're not going to like the outcome of this. The reality is progressive judges are far more willing to issue universal injunctions than conservative judges. There are some conservative judges that will issue universal injunctions, but they overwhelmingly tend to come from progressive judges. And as I said back in January, I said this when Donald Trump got inaugurated as president, that the progressives were going to overplay their hands in district courts. And I think that's what's about to happen, based on the arguments of even Amy Coney Barrett, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, John Roberts, who, by the way, John Roberts has long been frustrated by the abuse of universal injunctions. I think you're going to see the Supreme Court rein in the use of universal injunctions, and we're not going to get resolution on the birthright citizenship portion of the case. We're going to get resolution on the universal injunction portion of the case, and we'll have to revisit the birthright citizenship matter later. It's been very interesting to hear the arguments at the U.S. Supreme Court today. You know, the news organizations tried to get them to put cameras in for this case, claiming it was historic. The court declined. They're not going to put cameras in. We were able to hear their voices, though, and there does seem to be broad consensus, even among the liberals in the court, that there's a problem with universal injunctions, but the progressives on the court seem to be far less willing to change this, largely because right now it's benefiting progressives to put a hold on Donald Trump. I think, though, the conservatives are about to tell progressives you've overplayed your hand. You know, I've been warning, again, since January, I've been warning progressives you were about to have the Supreme Court kill off universal injunctions or at least severely restrict them. And that, I believe, is actually what's going to happen based on the way the oral arguments are shaping up today.
Have something to say? Hello. Call the show. 1-877-97-ERIC. That's 1-877-973-7425.
1221 Cool Ray Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. Travel advisory continues between Fairburn and Union City. Crash 2 left lanes, 85 northbound before Flat Shoals, exit 66. Use Highway 29. 285 southbound near the airport. They just blocked and reopened all lanes at Washington Road, exit 1 to get a crash off to the right there. Traffic brought to you by Rapid Radios. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage for a limited time. Go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off and for UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
Here we go, friends. It's the 5K a day bonus blitz. Your noon keyword is stock. S-T-O-C-K, stock. Enter the keyword stock into the WSB Radio app or at WSBradio.com/cash. You have until 12:30 p.m. to enter the keyword, win $1,000. The keyword is stock. S-T-O-C-K, stock. Don't forget, if you get a phone call after 12:30 from a number you don't recognize, answer it. Could be us telling you you won $1,000. Your noon keyword is stock. S-T-O-C-K. Good luck.
For garage door repair, Metro Atlanta calls the real overhead door company of Atlanta. They're the ones with the red ribbon. They're the ones who've been here since 1935. Others try to copy the name but cannot match the level of service. The red ribbon means 85 years of trust and loyalty from Metro Atlanta homeowners. Always look for the red ribbon. It means you've got the genuine, the original overhead door company of Atlanta. Just call 404 USA Door.
This is Scott Slade, updating my health story. I get a checkup every year, and last autumn, my primary care physician was troubled by a suspicious number in my lab work. Well, that led to a diagnosis early enough to give me options, and I'm more optimistic than ever about a good outcome. Now, when we're talking about our health, don't be shy. Level with your providers if you think you have a problem. We all need expert eyes looking us over every so often to spot trouble while we still have an option to deal with them. That's where virtual imaging can be invaluable. Virtual imaging's LDCT whole body scan can give you time and options for early treatment, especially for cancer. They can detect tumors as early as precancerous virtually anywhere in your body, and aneurysms you may not even know are there. For a limited time, Virtual Imaging is offering their LDCT body scan for only $995 per scan. That's a $2,495 value. Appointments must be scheduled in May. There are a limited number of scans available at that price, so a few minimum requirements may apply. I'm living proof that preventive medicine can save lives, so don't put this off, especially with this offer from Virtual Imaging. Call 404-678-SCAN. That's 404-678-SCAN. Or make an appointment by visiting their website at virtualimagingatl.com. That's virtualimagingatl.com. So don't put this off. Schedule this Virtual Imaging LDCT whole body scan for just $995 during the month of May, while you still have options.
It's essential, complicated, and if it breaks, you could have a disgusting mess. Hi, I'm Shannon, owner of Scorpion Septic, and the experts you hear on the Home Fix-It Show. Slow drains, gurgling sounds, or pooling water and odors in the yard? Don't ignore these symptoms. Call us today.
Take the sting out of septic service with Scorpion Septic, where there is never a pump-out charge with your repair. Call for more information.
ScorpionSepticServices.com When markets get rocky, the worst thing you can do is nothing. Hi, I'm David Nicholas, president and founder of Nicholas Wealth Management. Times like these demand action and a plan you can trust. That's why we rely on our trademark Retire Ready Bucket strategy. This strategy is designed to place a percentage of your portfolio into lower risk, income producing income bucket, aiming to generate steady cash flow for the first 10 to 15 years of retirement. Meanwhile, your growth bucket is filled with dividend and growth stocks, which has time to recover when markets are going crazy. So call Nicholas Wealth today at 678-990-8500 or visit nicholaswealth.com to schedule a time to sit down with our team to review your plan. This strategy was crafted by experience. It's battle tested, and it's how you aim to keep your retirement on track even when the markets are not. So call Nicholas Wealth today at 678-990-8500 or visit nicholaswealth.com. At Nicholas Wealth Management, we're prepared. Are you? Don't wait for the next headline to shake your confidence. Call Nicholas Wealth today, 678-990-8500 or visit nicholaswealth.com. Nicholas Wealth Management. Retire ready.
Nicholas Wealth Management is an independent financial services firm and uses a variety of different investment strategies. Neither the information nor any opinion expressed is to be construed as solicitation to buy or sell a security or personalized investment, tax, or legal advice.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk. Giving you the truth, not the talking points. It's the Eric Erickson Show.
Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number, 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, would be delighted to have you. You should know Walmart is now warning that it's going to engage in price increases towards the end of this month. It says earnings were good for Walmart, but it is starting to feel the concerns of tariffs, and they're beginning to warn people that expect price increases. Now, interestingly enough, inside the White House is coming word from those close to the president that that was actually one of the things that persuaded him that we needed to go on and deal now with China and risk not being able to decouple from the Chinese economy. There were real concerns within the White House that the decoupling from China was moving too fast. And I don't know that he's giving up on the idea of decoupling from China, but it does appear that he is going to move a little more slowly, shall we say, on the issue of decoupling from China. The president is deeply concerned about the effects at Christmas, particularly on his voters, that is, red state voters, working class voters, and doesn't want them to have high prices at Christmas or empty store shelves. And with Walmart now coming out today saying they're going to start raising prices at the end of the month, that's the predictable outcome of all the tariffs, but it's still far less of a burden on the president's supporters when you don't have 145% tariffs on China. So headed in the right direction. Jamie Dimon, for his part, at J.P. Morgan, says he's still worried about a recession, even though his chief economist is not as worried as he was once. There are still problems along the way. So we'll see how it shapes up. All right, I got to tell you about the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. By the way, when we come back, there's a very important anniversary today, very important anniversary that we need to cover, and you're probably not going to hear about it in most places, but here we got to celebrate big, important anniversaries, so please stick around when we come back. First, the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. You get 3 of them. You can save $200. You go to EdenPureDeals.com. You put in the discount code ERIC3, ERICK3. You get 3 Eden Pure Thunderstorms, and they're fantastic devices that genuinely, truly save and deodorize your home. They wipe out odors. So they wipe out litter box odors. They wipe out dirty diaper odors. They wipe out pet odors. They wipe out cooking odors. And they also get rid of 99.9% of bacteria and viruses that flow through them, and they get rid of pet dander, pollen, dust, and they're filterless. You don't have to get a filter subscription. It just works. EdenPureDeals.com. EdenPureDeals.com. Excuse me. The discount code is ERIC3, ERICK3 at EdenPureDeals.com. And get one for upstairs, downstairs, your basement, your travel bag, your RV. They're small, portable. You can hold it in your hand. You can keep it in your travel bag, plug it up with a USB cord, plug it into the wall. Wipe out all the odors. EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is ERIC3, ERICK3.
Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios.
News,
weather,
traffic.
95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's News and Talk.
It is 12:30. Good afternoon. I'm Sabrina Cupid. This news sponsored by Jim Ellis Automotive. We have an update on that sinkhole on Shirley Franklin Boulevard near the state capitol. We have now learned that the pavement collapsed due to work being done, and that work could now take several more days. And multiple lanes of the Shirley Franklin Boulevard closed near the state capitol between Rawson Street, Memorial Drive. We're told traffic patterns hopefully will return to normal by sometime this weekend. All right, your weather for today. Mostly cloudy, drying out, but heating up with a high around 87 this afternoon, says WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. Have you been to the mailbox today? Well, the post office is out with new numbers regarding delivery times, and the results are, well, a mixed bag for postal customers here in Georgia.
The good news is there has been some improvement with on-time delivery rates in Georgia, up from a year ago when the recently opened distribution center in Palmetto was besieged by problems. The good news ends there, though. Georgia still lags far behind the national average. Georgia's on-time rate for two-day delivery is just over 61%, and 3 to 5 day deliveries on time just 55% of the time. Only Ohio, Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana have worse rates in one of the two categories, and that puts Georgia dead last overall. Hawaii best in both categories. Graham Carroll, 95.5 WSB.
And Georgia now has an official state bread and stew. Governor Kemp signing a bill that named cornbread as Georgia's official state bread and Brunswick stew as the official state stew. It's 12:32.
There's a new optimism in the air, and we think investors like you might have the best year ever. Hello, I'm Brant Frost, founder of First Liberty Building and Loan. Last year, we opened up our First Liberty Notes program to Main Street investors just like you, and the response has been just incredible. Everyday folks from all walks of life have enjoyed 8 to 13% interest rates while helping to fuel the growth of small businesses right here at home. If you're a qualified investor and have a minimum of $25,000, you too could be earning 8 to 13% interest rates. We'd love to have you join our First Liberty family today. We believe this is going to be a special year and a great year. We've got the projects. Now we need partners like you. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com and see if our First Liberty notes are right for you. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com. That's FirstLibertyGA.com.
First Liberty notes are not obligations of or guaranteed by any financial institution and are not secured by any collateral. They are not FDIC insured or guaranteed by any government agency. You could lose money. Purchasers must verify their SEC accredited investor status. Securities are not being offered in any jurisdiction in which it is unlawful.
Turn your backyard into your family's favorite hangout to have fun, entertain, and celebrate this summer in a Bullfrog hot tub from Brown's Pools and Spas. Only Bullfrog offers the Jetpack Therapy system, allowing you to customize each seat to fit every body in your family. Right now, shop the Memorial Day hot tub sale. Instant rebates up to $2,500 or a free audio upgrade on select models. Hurry, offer ends May 27th. You'll be so glad you went to Brown's Pools and Spas. BrownsPools.com.
Squirrels in your attic are not leaving without a fight. Scott Slade here. You need the Breda Wildlife Guarantee. It covers every entry point, old and new. Other companies only guarantee the entry point they seal. So each time that squirrel chews a new hole, and they will, it'll cost you hundreds more. But under the Breda Wildlife Guarantee, you stay protected at no additional cost.
Breda, no need to be afraid of bugs.
When it comes to your home, quality is crucial. Trust the Plus. Painting Plus. The Plus means siding, gutters, windows, decks, porches, roofing, and of course, painting.
Hi, I'm Charlie, owner of Painting Plus and the Plus family of businesses. Quality comes first. We have the most experienced exterior craftsmen in the industry.
If your home's exterior has it, the Plus can improve it. Painting Plus. Siding, gutters, windows, decks, porches, roofing, and more. Trust the Plus. PaintingPlus.com.
Live team coverage of traffic and weather. Alex Williams in the WSB 24-hour traffic center.
Travel advisory continues between Fairburn and Union City with this crash in two left lanes. 85 northbound before Flat Shoals, exit 66. Highway 29 will get you around that. Crash off to the right now, 285 southbound, the outer loop near the airport at Washington Road, exit number 1. And we're also seeing some brake lights, I-20 eastbound on the West Freeway, leaving Riverside Parkway, passing Fulton Industrial Boulevard. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
This is WSB meteorologist Christina Upwards. A mix of sun and clouds today, heating up to a high of 87, lows tonight in the mid-60s. Tomorrow, partly cloudy with highs in the upper 80s to low 90s. Rain showers and a few thunderstorms for Saturday morning. Cloudy through the afternoon, high 85.
WSB Storm Tracker radar is rain-free. It's 77 degrees and partly cloudy in Alpharetta, 76 in Sugar Hill. Dunwoody, you have 78 degrees right now under partly cloudy skies. More news at 1 o'clock, breaking news when it happens. I'm Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
Smart, fearless, and occasionally funny. You're listening to The Eric Erickson Show.
Welcome back. It is Eric Erickson here across the nation. The phone number is 877-973-7425. If you want to be on the program, I will get to your phone calls eventually. We just got a bunch of stuff we got to get to today because it's important stuff today and an important anniversary today. A very important anniversary today for all of us. I don't know how much attention it's going to get in the National Press Corps for reasons, but we've got just an important update and anniversary for you. This is the 1-year anniversary of a very famous moment in American history.
Donald Trump lost 2 debates to me in 2020. And since then, he hadn't shown up for debate. Now he's acting like he wants to debate me again. Well, make my day, pal. I'll even do it twice. So let's pick the dates, Donald. I hear you're free on Wednesdays.
Yes, my friends. That video came out today and was the beginning of the end of Joe Biden. Oh, the hubris. There were 6 cuts. Those of you listening, not watching, there were 6 cuts, 6 jump cuts, in and out, in and out, in and out. How many takes did it take them? It was a little bit of foreshadowing. Dave Weigel from Semaphore Notes. Yeah, little bit of foreshadowing. So in my morning post, I put in a quote from Jake Tapper. He was being interviewed by John Berman, his colleague at CNN, and just listen. Tapper notes that he should have been more aggressive. That he should have covered the story more. That I didn't do enough. He told John Berman. But there's also this quote. He says, look, what we learned through our reporting is that starting in around 2019, 2020, there were 2 Bidens. There was a Biden that was perfectly workable, serviceable, seemed fine, and then there was a non-functioning one that couldn't come up with names of top aides, that would lose his train of thought to an alarming degree, and that non-functioning Biden reared his head increasingly over and over. In fact, over time, as he aged, it got worse. What some Democrats today are trying to float as a way to protect themselves is that actually it got bad because of his worries about Hunter Biden. It was all about Hunter Biden. That's what happened. You have Democratic partisans who vouched for Joe Biden, who after the election gave us, the last time I saw him was before the midterms, and he was fine. He went downhill after that, clearly. This is all nonsense. Say what you will about Tapper and Alex Thompson and whether they did enough or didn't do enough or asked the right questions or pushed too hard or were dismissive or were defensive or were deflective. The fact of the matter is, based on their reporting right now, Joe Biden's decline began before he ran for president. And once he got in the White House, it became obvious, so much so that people inside the White House started shielding him. And it's in direct rebuttal to a lot of the Democrats who are now in CYA mode saying, oh, I mean, this clearly happened after the midterms. He was fine before the midterms. 70% of Americans in 2021 had concerns about Joe Biden. As I said yesterday, how was it that the American people could know there was something wrong and the American press corps could say there was nothing wrong? How is it that the American people knew there was a problem and the American press corps had no idea? How is it that the American people could judge for themselves there was a problem, but the American press corps insisted that their sources said there was nothing wrong, therefore there was nothing wrong? You had the Washington Post pinned a piece, how Republicans used misleading videos to attack Biden in a 24-hour period. You had the New York Times wrote how misleading videos are trailing Biden as he battles age doubts. It was all the misleading videos. And it turns out now we know that some of those scenes that they claimed were misleading videos were actually true, where he wandered off at the G7. They said, no, he was looking at the paratroopers. No, it turns out now we know he actually did wander off. And they had to get him. Where is the accountability? Where is the accountability? For example,
but comparing that guy's mental state, I've said it for years now, he's cogent. But I undersold him when I said he was cogent. He's far beyond cogent. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been. Intellectually, analytically, because he's been around for 50 years. And, I don't know if people know this or not, Biden used to be a hothead. Sometimes that Irishman would get in front of the reasoning. Sometimes he would say things he didn't want to say. This is, and I don't really, I don't really care. Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever. Not a close second. And I've known him for years. The Brzezinskis have known him for 50 years. If it weren't the truth, I wouldn't say it. And
that was in March of last year. That was Joe Scarborough on Morning Joe. I know Joe. Disagree with Joe a lot. We've always had a good relationship. But knowing what we know from just the Tapper Thompson book excerpts, we haven't even gotten the book yet. Joe Biden's decline began in 2019. And Democrats now are coming forward saying that actually it got even worse as it went on. And the Democratic cover to protect themselves is that it really got bad in 23 and 24. And the White House staff protected him where they protected him from Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski. What about Jen Psaki? Again, what we know from the book is that the decline began, at least was noticeable in 2019 and 2020 before he even got to the White House, and was exacerbated by the stress of being inside the White House. Why does Jen Psaki have a job on MSNBC where she used her platform to dismiss concerns about Joe Biden? What about Nicole Wallace and her take on the deep fakes and the cheap fakes and the dismissiveness about Joe Biden and the protectiveness of Joe Biden? What about also the voices on CNN? Remember when the video came out of them leading Barack Obama off stage, we now know that was a trigger point for a number of Democrats who knew there was something wrong and they needed to find a way to get him out of the race. And yet on CNN, they had Democrats come on television and insist that that video was edited and we shouldn't believe our lying eyes. Now, when CNN has on Republicans who believe the 2020 election was not stolen, they demand accountability for those Republicans who they believe lied about 2020. Where is the accountability for the Democrats who lied about Joe Biden's mental faculties and physical decline? Where is the accountability? Where is Brian Stelter on CNN? Brian Stelter has a love affair with MSNBC. Go back to the election in November. Go to Brian Stelter's timeline on Twitter, and you will see his praise for MSNBC, how professional they were, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Where's his criticisms of MSNBC and the Joe Scarborough monologue, the Jen Psaki hire, the Nicole Wallace statements, the Joy Reid statements, and the others about Joe Biden's mental and physical decline? Where is Brian Stelter? What about Oliver Darcy, who hates Fox News and the conservative press, who is at CNN and now has an outside newsletter that regularly assails Fox News, Newsmax, OAN, and the like, oftentimes for legitimate reasons? Where is he on MSNBC? Where is he on the voices on CNN who repeatedly come and say everything is fine with Joe Biden, but if it's a Republican, they've got to answer for January 6th, whether they thought it was fine or not, whether they thought the election was stolen or not. They've got to answer for January 6th. What's actually worse, people going into the Capitol on January 6th or an organized effort by the press and the Democratic Party of America to hide the physical and mental decline of a president who was not fit to answer a 3 a.m. phone call, despite attesting to the fact that he was, lying to the American people for 4 years about your mental and physical decline, I would submit to you is actually worse than going into the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, where what happened was nothing, and what happened with Joe Biden was a 4-year cover-up collaborating with the press to lie about the health concerns of the President of the United States, who was not fit to wake up in the middle of the night and govern the country in terms of an emergency or crisis. What's actually worse? Oh, January 6th, yes, we can see the rioters storming the building. We can see the lies. What lies? What lies? That the election was stolen? Okay, yes, bad. I agree. I've long time agreed the election wasn't stolen. I get hate mail from people on my side because I don't agree with them on this. But you people lied for 4 years about Joe Biden's capacity. And the best the press can do now is say, well, it wasn't us. Our sources weren't honest with us. Why the hell is it that Americans didn't need sources to know something was wrong, but you people in the press did? Because the answer is Joe Biden was all that stood between you and Donald Trump. And so you were willing to close your eyes, excuse it all away, and not do your jobs to protect your precious. And now there's accountability. This is Chuck Todd from his podcast.
In many ways, I think this Biden book is only going to not just undermine Biden, but I think make it toxic for anybody that worked for Biden. Because then it becomes, where were you? How did you participate in the cover-up? Pete Buttigieg, this may mean something for you. You know, you were a cabinet secretary. Are you going to now tell us, yeah, I didn't have much interaction with him? Well, then why didn't you say something? I had a cabinet secretary tell me that. They had no interaction with him and wondered about that. I had that off the record. After Biden quit, I've since shared it with people. I'm still not going to share who the cabinet secretary was because that's not I'm trying, I believe in keeping your word as a journalist, and it was an off the record as far as it being told to me. And I think it's up to that person to decide whether to speak out or not. But I think it's a question, anybody who worked directly for Biden, so Gina Raimondo, if she thinks about running for president, Pete Buttigieg, all of these cabinet secretaries are now going to have to answer for all of this. And I do wonder if it's going to make anybody that touches Biden persona non grata, not just anybody directly in the Biden world.
Yeah, I listen, it's a fair point. But again, what about the reporters? Because there were reporters who collaborated, who submitted their questions to the press conference. We know it happened. And at the time, conservatives were attacked for pointing it out. What about the reporters who ran with the chief? What about the entire fact-checking body of America, particularly at the Washington Post? Notice how what's happening is the media has turned on the Democrats now, and they're not turning on themselves. They're not holding their colleagues accountable because they would like jobs. They don't want to pee within their own tent. But where's the accountability? Trust for the press in America is at an all-time low. You can't get the trust back unless honest reporters. And by the way, Mark Halperin, who had a fallout in the Me Too moment, he's got his own podcast where he's been holding some of these guys accountable. He's got nothing to lose anymore. He's doing quite well with his Substack. Probably not going to get back on a major broadcast network anytime soon. But these guys who are in the broadcast networks or want to be in the broadcast networks, they're not holding their own side accountable. So they are also complicit in the decline of trust. They're also complicit in the conspiracy to protect Joe Biden. And many of them actively were participants in the conspiracy, and they'll never admit it, which is why the American people don't trust them anymore. There's a lot of energy spent within the media accountability complex to attack Fox News, but they'll never attack MSNBC for the way it handled Joe Biden. They'll never attack Voices at CNN. To his credit, Jake Tapper's come forward and said, you know what? Yeah, I should have covered it more. I think I covered it. Many of you will disagree, but he says, I definitely should have done more. In hindsight, there were problems, and I didn't probe, I didn't push. Alex Thompson was blackballed by the White House. The Wall Street Journal had a couple of reporters blackballed by the White House. They refused to collaborate with them. They weren't not allowed on the campus grounds, so to speak, of the White House. Good for them for doing it. But, you can count on a single hand the reporters who did not go along with the herd. The rest of them covered for Biden. And yes, they should make these Democrats persona non grata in the future. Pete Buttigieg, we'll get to him in a little bit. Big story about scandal in Pete Buttigieg that just came out today. Yeah, he should be persona non grata. He was a person who reassured America repeatedly Joe Biden was fit for office. Kamala Harris, too. They were lying to the American public. That should be unforgivable for Democrats, considering it led to the election of Donald Trump. So I would like to thank them for their repeated lies until it got exposed. But yes, today is the anniversary of Joe Biden doing the video challenging Donald Trump to a debate. And Donald Trump took him up on that debate. There are people who will be unpersuaded, who will be just insistent for the rest of their lives that CNN debate was a setup to destroy Joe Biden by the Democrats. We actually know from the good reporters out there who were covering Biden that wasn't actually the case. They actually did think they could rehabilitate him, which is wild to me. They actually had convinced themselves they could rehabilitate him, and they couldn't. It still took him 6 weeks to drop out. There will have to be accountability, not just for the Democrats, though, but for the American press corps, for us to ever believe the press can even have a semblance of honesty again. Until that accountability comes for the press, until people at MSNBC are no longer on the air because they were complicit, you cannot believe the American press has learned its lesson. Now, let me tell you about Hillsdale College, because you can learn great lessons at Hillsdale College for free and get a certificate of completion. You go to ericforhillsdale.com, E-R-I-C-K, ericforhillsdale.com. And you sign up, take one of 40 classes. They've got incredible classes on economics, chemistry, math, physics, political philosophy, philosophy in general, politics, history, religion, literature, you name it. It's across the board. Some of the very best faculty doing video lectures. You do at your own pace. At the end, you get a certificate of completion, and you pay nothing, absolutely nothing, for the privilege of taking classes with some of the best professors in America. Hillsdale believes in education, not indoctrination. They've been doing this since 1833, finding Americans where they live. With the advent of the internet, they've been doing it online, and they really are. It's a great institution with great faculty. There's got to be a topic you're interested in. Do a deep dive with Hillsdale College's faculty. Do it at your own pace. And then you get the certificate of completion, and it's free. EricForHillsdale.com. E-R-I-C-K. EricForHillsdale.com. Go sign up today.
Honest.
Putting your trust in me to tell you what's going on.
Transparent.
I need you to know this from the bottom of my heart.
Giving you the information without the noise.
My job isn't to tell you what you want to hear, it's to tell you the truth.
It's the Eric Erickson Show.
1251, Cool Ray Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. Better news out of Fairburn into Union City. Crash cleared 85 northbound before Flat Shoals, exit 66. Those delays are improving. That crash 285 southbound, the outer loop, Washington Road, exit 1. Fire department now on scene, blocking the right lane there, so a few brake lights starting to fill in behind it. Traffic brought to you by Rapid Radios. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off, and for UPS shipping, add code radio and get an extra 5% off. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
On air,
Online,
on the app,
where you get your news,
is where you'll win.
Download the WSB radio app now and maybe win $1,000.
That's amazing.
The WSB 5K a day bonus blitz.
5 words, 5 times a day, every
This
weekday.
is Dawn in Brazelton, and I just won $1,000 from WSB.
Just enter the word at WSBradio.com or on the WSB radio app.
Your next chance to win is coming up at 2.
The WSB 5K a day bonus blitz.
On 95.5 WSB.
Have you gotten your grilling preparations and fixins for Memorial Day? It's coming up. I've got mine from Omaha Steaks, and you should too, because during the Memorial Day sale, you get 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. And listen, you're going to get an extra $35 off with promo code ERIC, E-R-I-C-K, at checkout. Just look for the promo code box, put in my name, Eric. You'll get $35 off and already 50% off site-wide. So I loaded up on hamburgers and the gourmet jumbo franks. Of course, my wife loves the caramel apple tartlets. But go load up your cart with deliciousness, whatever you want, 50% off site-wide at Omaha Steaks for Memorial Day. It is deliciousness delivered to your door. I've already got my order in. I did save you guys some food, so go check it out. omahasteaks.com, 50% off site-wide. The Memorial Day sale happening right now. Use promo code ERIC, E-R-I-C-K, at checkout for an extra $35 off. Minimum purchase may apply.
I'm here with Chris Hoffman, the founder of Hoffman Financial Group, to discuss one of the biggest blind spots that people face when saving for retirement, and it's a head scratcher. Chris, how do so many people not know what they're invested in?
That's the biggest flaw that everybody runs into. They think they know what equities they have, they think they know what bonds they have, but they really don't know how those mutual funds or how those index funds are performing in conjunction with one another. So, I would liken this to a big pot of soup, and we're just throwing all the ingredients in the refrigerator in this thing. It's not very good. It's just a mishmash of stuff. And sometimes you like the way it tastes. Sometimes you don't. And when you don't know why. You don't know if you got too much chicken in there or too much vegetables in there or what's going on. And I ask every caller that comes in for an initial consultation, do you know how your portfolio is broken down? And they say, well, I've got, 20 or so options in my 401k, and I just picked 2 of them or 3 of them. I thought I needed some international. I thought I needed some U.S. equities. I thought I needed some bonds. And they're just guessing. So you have to absolutely know what you're invested in, and that's where we will run the 401k portfolio x-ray for you, because that'll break it down. If you're not proficient at investing and don't understand this world, we will walk you through it. Not knowing what you're invested in is a big hindrance to growing and protecting your money. We will run a portfolio x-ray for you and educate you on exactly what's in your portfolio.
Set up a time to get your complimentary portfolio x-ray today. Call the Hoffman Financial Group at 404-737-3858. That's 404-737-3858, or book online at unleashyourmoney.com. Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Wealth Advisors, a registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Hoffman Financial Group Incorporated, Georgia Insurance License number 163546.
WSB Atlanta, WSB FM, and HD1 Doraville. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's news and talk.
Get Eric's daily show prep email. Text DATA to 33777 and you'll be in the know.
Welcome back. It is Eric Erickson here across the nation. The phone number 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, when we come back, I mentioned Pete Buttigieg. There's actually a pretty damning story about Buttigieg related to that horrific American Airlines crash in Washington, D.C. He rushed to blame the Trump administration, and there's growing evidence that he was culpable. We'll get into that. First, I got to tell you this. There's a story in the Jerusalem Post. Let me read this for you. If Pope Francis's Vatican flirted with fashionable anti-Zionism, hosting Mahmoud Abbas, parroting UN talking points, Leo XIV is a corrective. Prevost has visited Israel repeatedly. He has expressed admiration for the resilience of Jewish life and cultivated ties with Jewish leaders in Peru, the United States, and Europe. He does not sentimentalize the Palestinian cause, nor reduce the Middle East to a victim-oppressor binary. According to sources in Rome, Pope Leo XIV views Israel as, quote, a moral project within history, a phrase that startled the Latin desk at the Secretariat of State. He has called Benjamin Netanyahu, quote, a necessary man in dangerous times, which in Vaticanese borders on radical candor. There will be no warm embraces for Hamas delegates under this papacy. Yeah, the veneer is off this Pope. By the way, the New York Times is coming after the Pope's brothers. I have to admit, the sinner in me wishes bad things on reporters who go after private citizens whose relatives are famous. It's people have come after my sisters because of me in the past. I take it personally for others. I don't care what your partisanship politics are. Just because your brother was made pope, you're still a private citizen. Frustrating. This hour of the program brought to you by First Liberty Building and Loan. If you're growing your business and you need access to capital, you're buying a building or franchise, a business partner, you need heavy equipment, reach out to them, FirstLibertyGA.com. FirstLibertyGA.com. Tell them I sent you. See if the Frost family can help you. They've been doing this since the 90s. They'd love to help you if they can. FirstLibertyGA.com. When we come back, really damning story for the Washington Post about Pete Buttigieg and this plane crash in D.C.
news,
weather,
traffic. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
All right, it's almost 1 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Sabrina Cupid. This news is sponsored by Window Nation. You can expect big delays on a busy downtown Atlanta road where work continues on a sinkhole there.
It could be the weekend before traffic patterns return to normal on Shirley Franklin Boulevard in southwest Atlanta. Multiple lanes are closed near the state capitol between Rawson Street and Memorial Drive. Atlanta Watershed Management says the pavement collapsed due to work from a private contractor. They were excavating on the next block, which caused an abandoned line to fill with water, made worse by the recent rain. Crews are capping the line. Drivers are urged to avoid the area until repair work is finished. Bill Caiaccio, 95.5 WSB.
All right, thank you, Bill. Your weather for today, partly cloudy, drying out, but heating up. Afternoon highs around 87, says WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. She'll have Atlanta's most accurate and dependable forecast coming up. A new report says airline passenger complaints are on the rise. It's a story that's all new here at 1 o'clock. Correspondent Michael Wallace has details.
JetBlue Flight 1116 serves to Austin.
The U.S. PIRG Education Fund says nearly 67,000 complaints were lodged last year, a new record. 1.7 million flights were delayed or canceled. Frontier Airlines had the highest rate of complaints. It had the worst records for cancellations, on-time arrivals, and involuntary bumping. Southwest, Alaska, and Hawaiian Airlines had the fewest complaints.
If you've noticed a slight improvement in on-time mail delivery recently, it's the silver lining to some bad numbers that push Georgia dead last nationally when it comes to on-time mail delivery.
The numbers are slightly better for the first quarter of 2025, but Georgia's on-time rate for two-day delivery stands at just over 61%, and 3 to 5 day deliveries only arrive on time about 55% of the time, far below the national average of 82 and 64%. A few states are worse in one of the two categories, but when combined, Georgia sits in last place overall. It is a time of transition for the agency since the departure of Postmaster General Louis DeJoy in March. His replacement, FedEx board member David Steiner, was announced last week. He assumes the role in July. Graham Carroll, 95.5 WSB.
In Clayton County, the school district there is the latest to send out a warning about the TikTok Chromebook challenge. In a letter to parents, the district telling them that their children could be injured and face financial and disciplinary action if they take part. This challenge encourages students to damage school-issued Chromebooks by jamming metal objects into USB ports. It can cause electrical shorts, sparks, and even fires. Walmart announcing plans to raise prices on some goods by the end of the month to account for tariffs, and WSB consumer advisor Clark Howard says this paves the way for price hikes on other major retailers.
This isn't just Walmart. This is everybody. Doesn't matter who you buy from, big or small. If they buy goods from overseas, they're going to be more expensive.
And he says stores will also likely start putting fewer items on sale as a way to make up for lost revenue. The Georgia Board of Regents approves a $70 million renovation project for Georgia Tech's Bobby Dodd Stadium. The project would add premium seating on the west sideline and chairback seating to the entire east and west sidelines. 16 suites will also be added, while 16 existing suites will be renovated. New video boards will also be installed at the stadium's south and northwest sides. Those renovations are going to start at the end of 2026, the end of the college football season, and should be completed by the start of 2027's season. It's 102.
Jason Hansen, former CIA officer here, with an urgent warning. The 2025 tariffs are a matter of national security, and retaliation can become an extreme national threat. Every American with a 401k, IRA, or retirement account should act now before it's too late. I urge everyone to protect and secure their hard-earned money with physical gold and silver before we see massive retaliations from China and an extreme market of volatility. I only trust Advantage Gold with my money. They're the #1 precious metals company in America, and they can help you secure retirement with physical gold and silver. To get started, just call 800-324-9902 and request their free gold investment guide and learn how you can own physical gold and silver, tax-free and penalty-free. But don't wait. This threat is real. Call 800-324-9902. Now again, that's 800-324-9902. Call right now and get your free gold investment guide today, or visit AdvantageGold.com. Past performance may vary. Always consult with a tax and financial professional.
When your termite bond renewal comes in the mail, do you cringe wondering how much more are they going to charge me now? Switch your termite protection to Breda Pest Management and your termite rate is locked in for 10 years. Meteorologist Christina Edwards here. When was the last time you actually saw your current service inspect your home for termite damage? Let me guess, they just walked around the outside and checked the bait stations. But it's the termites inside that could be eating your house. Feel safe with Breda's early detection process using advanced technology. They'll inspect inside and out, giving you total peace of mind that your home is termite-free. Termites are the most destructive bug of all, but Breda is so confident they guarantee your protection, and only Breda will lock in your termite rate for 10 years. Breda Pest Management, they handle bugs and critters like termites. BREDAPest.com.
Breda, no need to be afraid of bugs.
Men, trouble in the bedroom? Not anymore. Priority Men's Medical Center restores your love life in just one visit. Their painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE. Here's a specialist in men's health.
I'm Dr. Simovitz. Have Viagra or Cialis let you down? Priority Men's Medical Center offers the most effective treatments that eliminate ED and PE, with men lasting longer than ever. 98% of patients see instant results on their first visit.
Priority Men's Medical Center's breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, regardless of age or medical history. Your consultation and first treatment are free. You'll see instant results in the office. Plus, qualified patients get their testosterone checked free. Call 404-885-8885. 404-885-8885. To restore your love life in just one visit, call now. 404-885-8885.
If you own a Mercedes, BMW, Porsche, or any European import, come see us at Rocco's European Garage. Better value than the dealership, upfront and clear pricing with customer approval prior to us beginning, and a 3-day appointment window to get you back on the road quicker. Rocco's European Garage.
Beaver Direct certified, providing the highest quality vehicles at the very best prices. Every vehicle undergoes rigorous reconditioning with an industry-leading 12-month, 12,000-mile certified warranty. Visit us at BeaverToyotaComing.com and see why everyone loves Beaver Direct.
Alex Williams with a look at the roads.
Crash that was off to the right, now in the right lane. 285 southbound, the outer loop, Washington Road, exit 1, and stacked up into Midtown, starting 85 southbound at Georgia 400 for the ride past 17th Street. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. Partly cloudy and very warm today, high 87.
More news at 1:30. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Greetings, it's Eric Erickson here. The phone number on the program, 877-973-7425, should you wish to be on the show. As always, text the word Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777, should you wish to get the show notes, the live stream, the podcast, all that. Y'all, I need to start the second hour. To my knowledge, I've never done this on this program before. And if you have the show notes, if you text the word Eric to 33777, the very first link you'll get back is the show notes. And at the top, you're going to see a link. And I've hesitated to say anything on the show, but I want to, after some conversation this morning with my wife, we have we're friends, longtime friends with a couple. And the wife is battling brain cancer, and things are not going well. There are some other factors as well, but things aren't going well, and our friend is going to have to take a leave of absence from his job. And obviously there are financial implications for that and all. And so at the top of the show notes today, there's a link to their GoFundMe account. And it's not a good situation. So if you're so inclined and able, if you text Eric or Data, either word, to 33777, you'll get a link back to the show notes. if you get into today's show notes, at the top there's a link to their GoFundMe account. It's a sad situation. They're wonderful people, and I hate that they're struggling. And I got to be honest with you too. I'm so bad at engaged. In fact, my buddy Scott Slade from my flagship station WSB has been battling cancer. I think things are going okay for him. We texted the other day, but I hadn't wanted to reach out, and part of it is those of you who don't deal with these situations. I just try to see it through the eyes of those who do, that everyone cares and is so caring, and at some point you just get worn out having to answer the same question and over and over and over. How are you doing? And I've just gotten to the point where when I've got friends who are battling cancer and things like that, that I don't engage like I should, and part of it is I just don't want to be a bother to anybody ever, and knowing how often people are always, how are you doing, let me repeat for you, can I just do a cut and paste and tell everybody, I don't want to bother, and I know, and I have unfortunately hurt some friends' feelings by not engaging enough, making it seem like I don't care, and just I'm bad at navigating that, and part of it is just dealing with Christy's in my situation, her situation, not really mine. She's the one with cancer, and it wears her out to constantly have to tell people how she's doing. And we know everybody means well, so I have overcorrected, I think, on the other side, and just don't engage with friends because I don't want to be a bother to them. But in this particular situation, if you text Eric or Data to 33777, get into the show notes. There's a GoFundMe link, and I do appreciate it. They definitely could use some help. We got to talk about this story from the Washington Post today because this is problematic. I want to read for you a tweet. This is from Pete Buttigieg. This comes as an American Airlines flight collided with a military helicopter in Washington, D.C. There were a number of progressives who came out and immediately blamed the Trump administration. They were new on the job. It didn't matter. Progressives seized on this plane crash to say this is all Donald Trump and Sean Duffy's fault. And if I recall right, it was Sean Duffy's first day on the job. And Pete Buttigieg tweets, despicable. As families grieve, Trump should be leading, not lying. We put safety first, drove down close calls, grew air traffic control, and had 0 commercial airline crash fatalities out of millions of flights on our watch. President Trump now oversees the military and the FAA. One of his first acts was to fire and suspend some of the key personnel who helped keep our skies safe. Time for the president to show actual leadership and explain what he will do to prevent this from happening again. The reality is that there were more aviation incidents, not fatal plane crashes of commercial jets, but more aviation incidents. There were more plane crashes, near misses and the like in the first 100 days of the Biden administration than the Trump administration. And you can deny that all you want, but you can go look at the FAA records yourself and see that that actually is true. There were no commercial airline fatalities in the United States. That's true. But there were private plane crashes and near misses, and they exceeded what happened in the first 100 days of the Trump administration. Also, Pete Buttigieg says, quote, we grew air traffic control and we drove down close calls. That's not actually true. He also says one of Donald Trump's first acts was to fire and suspend some of the key personnel who helped keep our sky safe. That's actually not true either. That's actually a lie. Donald Trump did not suspend or fire anyone involved in air traffic control, safety, or technical maintenance. He got rid of DEI personalities and things like that in these departments, but he didn't get rid of air traffic controllers. Not a single air traffic controller lost their job. But it's true that during the Biden administration, Pete Buttigieg and Joe Biden continued an Obama policy of valuing racial diversity over competence. And actually, there has been a federal lawsuit regarding the Department of Transportation devaluing the hiring of white air traffic controllers in the name of diversity. They actually slowed down and caused a shortage of air traffic controllers in the Biden administration. They did not grow air traffic control other than in the administrative agencies. They grew DEI supervisors and the like, but they didn't actually increase the number of air traffic control personnel who were in charge of planes. Now there's a new pretty damning story from the Washington Post. This is from Ian Duncan. It hit the wires yesterday at 8:57 p.m. A hotline connecting air traffic controllers at Reagan National Airport and their counterparts at the Pentagon has been inoperable since March 2022. A Federal Aviation Administration official confirmed Wednesday. Further evidence of poor safety conditions between federal agencies responsible for the airspace where a mid-air collision in January killed 67 people. A hotline connecting air traffic controllers at Reagan National Airport and their counterparts at the Pentagon has been inoperable since March 2022. Shall we ask the internet who was Secretary of Transportation in March of 2022? Because it was not Sean Duffy, nor was the President of the United States at the time, Donald Trump. It was, in fact, the Biden administration and Pete Buttigieg. And it was Lloyd Austin who was Secretary of Defense, not Pete Hegseth. Now, let me read you the second paragraph. The line is maintained by the Defense Department, and the FAA was unaware of the outage during the 3 years it was down. Franklin McIntosh, the FAA's deputy head of air traffic control, testified at a Senate hearing Wednesday. Aviation officials discovered the hotline wasn't working after May 1st when controllers at National, that would be Reagan National, ordered 2 passenger jets to abandon landings because an Army helicopter was circling nearby at the Pentagon. We're insisting on that line to be fixed before we resume any operations out of the Pentagon. So it wasn't actually Pete Buttigieg's responsibility. It was Lloyd Austin's responsibility, but Pete Buttigieg was in charge of the FAA, and the FAA never even bothered to check on the line. The FAA, during Joe Biden's tenure and Pete Buttigieg's tenure in office, they didn't check the line, they didn't test the line, they didn't do anything. They had no knowledge of it not working until the moment they needed it. Pete Buttigieg claims to be a big advocate of safety checks. They didn't do a safety check on the line that connects them to the Pentagon. And it was Lloyd Austin, Joe Biden's defense secretary, who was in charge of the phone line, and it didn't work. And all of these people have been blaming Donald Trump. All of these people have been blaming Sean Duffy. All of these people have been casting blame to the Trump administration as a partisan convenience when they were culpable. They're the ones who cut the line. They're the ones who didn't test the line. And within days of coming into office, a crash happens, and they're all like, oh, this is Donald Trump's fault because he fired DEI officers at the FAA. Nonsense. Nonsense. Pete Buttigieg is a former mayor who had the arrogance to think that he could leverage being the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, to be president of the United States. And upper-income white progressives in the media loved him. No one else did. White progressives in the media basked and showered attention on Pete Buttigieg. Upper-income white progressives in the media could not believe that black voters of South Carolina would reject him after Pete Buttigieg, when talking about the shadowy, dark money on the internet, actually said black money. Pete Buttigieg also recently made the case that you get a discount by adopting black babies. Pete Buttigieg is not actually a very good or charismatic politician. He likes trains and is gay, so he got a job in the Biden administration. And he's white, gay, and has a military record, so white progressives think that he would be the perfect embodiment of the United States to be president of the United States, despite his lack of skills. Pete Buttigieg is essentially an affirmative action pick for progressive Democrats who don't really want a non-white president. They really want a gay president. Remember when Kamala Harris was searching for a vice president, the number of progressives who totally enamored were like, oh, she should pick Pete Buttigieg. That would be the most winning ticket ever. Only a bunch of out-of-touch white progressives could think that Kamala Harris and Pete Buttigieg would be the most winning, be the most annoying ticket. Well, I don't know. Tim Walz might actually have made it the most annoying ticket. I'm pretty sure it would have been the most insufferably smug ticket ever to run for president of the United States if it was a Harris-Buttigieg ticket. And now we know as well, Pete Buttigieg was complicit in the cover-up of Joe Biden's mental decline, going out and vouching for the fact that Joe Biden was sharp, good, and with it. Pete Buttigieg, he got headlines for being the guy who was going to go out and defend Joe Biden even more than Kamala Harris. He made sure everybody knew how loyal he was to Joe Biden, going out, stomping on Kamala Harris's coattails, making sure he was the guy doing the interviews, making sure everybody knew just how competent, controlled, collected, and together Joe Biden was. So now you can hang that albatross around his neck along with this phone line that did not actually work. How bad was he at his job? Terrible, but he's graded on a curb because he's a white gay dude with a military background who likes trains, so progressives in the media love him. And they can't judge him too harshly. But they are not representative of the American people, nor of the Democratic base anymore, who is actually more moderate than the Democrats in the press corps. That's one of the wild, crazy things is the Democratic base actually is not as progressive as the members of the media who love Pete Buttigieg. And I think there will be hell to pay should Pete Buttigieg try to run for president in 2028 when he was complicit in not just the cover-up of Joe Biden's decline, but also in the severing of an emergency phone line that could have kept a plane from crashing into a helicopter in January. And his own FAA didn't even know for 2 years the line was down. That's on Buttigieg, not Sean Duffy or Donald Trump.
Those who love him, listen to find out what he's going to say next. Those who disagree with him, also listen to see what he's going to say next. It's the Eric Erickson Show.
120 Cool Ray Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. Still watching this crash that's been in the right lane, 285 southbound, the outer loop, Washington Road, exit 1. Just a few brake lights back toward Canton Creek Parkway, but no big deal there, though. Heading into Midtown and downtown, seeing the volume, 85 south from the 400 merge, and it continues down toward North Avenue. Construction continues in Snellville, Highway 78 at Grayson Parkway. Traffic brought to you by Rapid Radios. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage for a limited time. Go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off, and for UPS shipping, add code radio and get an extra 5% off. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
On air,
online,
on the app,
where you get your news,
is where you'll win.
Download the WSB radio app now and maybe win $1,000.
That's amazing.
The WSB 5K a day bonus blitz.
5 words, 5 times a day, every weekday.
This is Dawn in Brazelton, and I just won $1,000 from WSB.
Just enter the word at WSBradio.com or on the WSB radio app.
Your next chance to win is coming up at 2.
The WSB 5K a day bonus blitz
on 95.5 WSB.
Termites could be eating your home right now and you'd never know. Dave Baker here for Breda Pest Management. When was the last time you actually saw your service inspect for termite damage? Let me guess. They just walked around outside and checked bait stations. Better get Breda. They use advanced infrared cameras and microwave technology for early detection. Switch to Breda and your termite rate is locked in for 10 years.
Breda, Breda, no need to be afraid of bugs.
You spend thousands of dollars, you waste weekends, and in a few years, you're back to square one because paint simply does not last.
RhinoShield, it's not paint. It's a high-tech ceramic coating system that protects your home from harsh weather and anything else that Mother Nature throws at it.
No chipping, flaking, or peeling, just decades of defense with RhinoShield, backed by a 25-year transferable warranty. Why keep throwing money at paint that just won't last?
RhinoShield is the answer. Go to RhinoShieldGA.com for your free evaluation.
Hey everyone, it's your buddy Shelley Winter here. Join me this Saturday at noon for the Car Guys with Kevin Deutsch from Butler Lexus of South Atlanta. Buy or lease, fix or sell, everything you want to know about cars, we will cover Saturday noon to 1 right here on 95.5 WSB.
Business fraud is on the rise. Is your bank helping you make a plan to detect and prevent it? I'm Brian Parks, head of commercial banking in Atlanta for Ameris Bank. Our local bankers are here to guide your company and make recommendations for your business, including fraud prevention tools like Positive Pay. This month, we're even offering an on-demand fraud prevention webinar for businesses like yours. To view the webinar and learn more about how we can help you protect your business, visit amerisbank.com/businessmonth. Ameris Bank, fiercely yours, member FDIC.
Hey homeowners, it's Eric Erickson here. Do your windows and doors stick? Are you noticing cracks in the drywall or the brickwork? You might have a big problem. Serious issues need the serious experts at Engineered Solutions of Georgia. Their skills are unmatched, as are their foundation solutions. When these guys repair a problem, it's the last time you'll have to worry about it. Done once, done right. Start today with a free inspection. Go to ESOGrepair.com. That's ESOGrepair.com.
Dial 678 ESOG now.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate today at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Your car can be picked up as soon as the next day. Receive a tax deduction and vacation voucher.
1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
If your basement is showing any problem signs, condensation, wet floors and walls, musty smells, mold, or rot, AquaGuard Foundation Solutions can help before it's too late. Visit aquaguard.net and sign up for a free inspection. Remember,
AquaGuard.
All the news, weather, and traffic you need. 95.5 WSB.
I'm Chris Chandler. When you join us Friday starting at 5 a.m. for Atlanta's Morning News, we'll get you ready for the weekend ahead with a rainy, maybe stormy forecast. How Clark Howard says you can tariff-proof your life. We'll travel to the Mideast, have our live Friday chat with CBS's Nancy Cordes to wrap up the president's very newsworthy trip there. And remember, our 5K a day bonus blitz continues. Your chance to win $1,000 coming up on 95.5 WSB. I'm Chris Chandler. When you join us Friday starting at 5 a.m. for Atlanta's Morning News, we'll get you ready for the weekend ahead with a rainy, maybe stormy forecast. How Clark Howard says you can tariff-proof your life. We'll travel to the Mideast, have our live Friday chat with CBS's Nancy Cordes to wrap up the president's very newsworthy trip there. And remember, our 5K a day bonus blitz continues. Your chance to win $1,000 coming up on 95.5 WSB.
It's the Eric Erickson Show.
Welcome back. It is Eric Erickson here. I had a couple people ask if I can make this easier, and I'm happy to. If you text the word donate to 33777, I'll send y'all back that GoFundMe link. Text donate to 33777. Let me go to the phones here. I want to get to Chad's phone call. Chad, thanks for being patient with me. How are you, man?
I'm well. How about yourself?
I'm doing great.
I heard you give a good legal analysis on the nationwide injunctions, and I thought let's bring another lawyer into it because every circus is better with an additional
yes,
clown,
exactly.
Right?
2 lawyers, 5 opinions.
That's exactly right. So I agree with your analysis of the case that was argued today. They are not going to decide the birthright issue. They are going to make some type of decision about nationwide injunctions, and I have mixed feelings on it one way or the other. Obviously, conservatives have also used nationwide injunctions, for example, to block the FTC's attempt to get rid of non-compete agreements nationwide, or the Department of Labor's attempt to raise the threshold for the overtime pay exemption, which was a huge thing. So, we would run to the Eastern District of Texas to get a favorable ruling, right? Mm-hmm. And there are occasions where a law that is being enforced or a regulation does have nationwide application. So the question is, do you want piecemeal, decisions all over? And there's an argument that, there should be piecemeal decisions so that those can percolate up through the court system and the rationale and the reasoning can be like purified, like clarified butter before it gets up to the Supreme Court.
Right.
These cases have to be able to go through real litigation and to do a thorough analysis of the issue. So I think they're going to come up with something. But the one thing that concerns me a little more is what you said about the majority of the 40 different nationwide injunctions being assigned to 5 judges. That is really a bad situation. If people don't understand how cases are assigned, they're supposed to go to the federal clerk's office, the district court, and they are put into a system, and they're supposed to be randomly assigned. All right, but there's ways around that. All right, you can file multiple suits in the same district and then dismiss the ones from the judges you don't want. You can file in multiple districts and then pick the one that you want to go with. But a good chief judge in a district should keep an eye out for those type of machinations because
Chad,
that is manipulation.
You're right, and I got to cut you off there on that point. And it's not happening, particularly in the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeal or D.C. Circuit where it needs to. And by the way, you guys need to go to Swiss America, get their free report on the secret war on cash with bank collapses out there right now. With gold skyrocketing, Swiss America has been the trusted leader in precious metals for 40 years, and they've been warning people about the secret war on cash. If you're interested in safeguarding your cash from the secret war, you need their free report. They're rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. They can educate you on protecting your assets. It takes less than 15 minutes to read the report, and by the way, it applies to digital currency. Get your free copy by calling or texting 800-289-2646, 800-289-2646. Just mention Eric, E-R-I-C-K. Text my name, Eric, to 800-289-2646. Get the report. It's completely free. You could call them if you want to talk to a human being. Tell them Eric sent you, 800-289-2646, or just text my name, Eric, to 800-289-2646. Follow the link that they send back. Get the report completely free from Swiss America. Message and data rates may apply.
Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios.
News,
weather,
traffic.
95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's News and Talk.
It is 1:30. Good afternoon. I'm Sabrina Cupid. This news sponsored by Ben Hill Renovation. An Auburn man has been sentenced to life plus 90 years in the sexual assault and kidnapping of a woman in Gwinnett County back in 2022. 53-year-old Christopher Raymond Clamp found guilty of sexually assaulting the woman after forcing his way into her home, beating her, holding her against her will for 2 days. It took the jury just 35 minutes to find him guilty. He's now going to spend the rest of his life behind bars. Your weather for today, partly cloudy, drying out, and heating up. Afternoon highs around 87, says WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. We have an update on that sinkhole on Shirley Franklin Boulevard near the state capitol. We've now learned that the pavement collapsed due to work being done there, and the work could now take several more days. We're told that traffic patterns hopefully will return to normal by the weekend. Multiple lanes of Shirley Franklin Boulevard closed near the state capitol between Rawson Street and Memorial Drive. Publix is issuing a voluntary baby food recall. It impacts certain 4-ounce pouches of the retailer's Greenwise pear, kiwi, spinach, and pea baby food. Publix says the pouches have the potential to be contaminated with elevated lead levels. The affected products have a best-by date of November 1st of this year. They were sold in several states, including Georgia. The baby food can be returned to Publix for a refund. And we were buying things last month. Jim Ryan has a look at the retail sales numbers today.
The numbers have seesawed this year as President Trump has first promised and then backed away from steep tariffs on imports. Consumers went on a buying spree in March to beat the expected price increases and apparently bought all they wanted to then. Retail sales in April were up only 0.1% month to month.
And Georgia's unemployment rate is holding steady. The state labor department says Georgia's April unemployment rate is 3.6%. That's 0.6 lower than the national unemployment rate. It's 1:32.
There's a new optimism in the air, and we think investors like you might have the best year ever. Hello, I'm Brant Frost, founder of First Liberty Building and Loan. Last year, we opened up our First Liberty Notes program to Main Street investors just like you, and the response has been just incredible. Everyday folks from all walks of life have enjoyed 8 to 13% interest rates while helping to fuel the growth of small businesses right here at home. If you're a qualified investor and have a minimum of $25,000, you too could be earning 8 to 13% interest rates. We'd love to have you join our First Liberty family today. We believe this is going to be a special year and a great year. We've got the projects. Now we need partners like you. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com and see if our First Liberty notes are right for you. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com. That's FirstLibertyGA.com.
First Liberty notes are not obligations of or guaranteed by any financial institution and are not secured by any collateral. They are not FDIC insured or guaranteed by any government agency. You could lose money. Purchasers must verify their SEC accredited investor status. Securities are not being offered in any jurisdiction in which it is unlawful. Home improvement projects can be a stressful guessing game. Trust the Plus. Painting Plus. The highest level of communication. The Plus means siding, gutters, windows, decks, porches, roofing, and of course, painting.
Hi, I'm Charlie, owner of Painting
Plus and the Plus family of businesses. We'll make you comfortable and keep you informed with every step of your project.
If your home's exterior has it, the Plus can improve it. Painting Plus, siding, gutters, windows, decks, porches, roofing, and more. Trust the Plus. PaintingPlus.com.
The foods we eat can be downright bad for our health. This is Sue from Bread Beckers with Sue's Healthy Minute. I have a degree in food science, and for more than 30 years, I've been teaching the truth about real bread. Not the stuff you buy at the store. I'm talking real bread made with freshly milled flour. When you buy bread from the store, take a look at the ingredients. Enriched flour means that the nutritious bran and germ has been removed to improve the shelf life. Then a few B vitamins and iron are added back to replace the multitude of nutrients lost. That's not enrichment in my book. And today, that label may even read contains bioengineered food ingredients. Food should never be bioengineered. At Bread Beckers in Woodstock, we can teach you how to make real bread loaded with fiber and nutrients. A delicious, healthy, affordable solution that can improve your health and change your life. Visit breadbeckers.com or our Bread Beckers store in Woodstock.
Live team coverage of traffic and weather, Alex Williams.
Lingering crash still in the right lane, 285 southbound, the outer loop, Washington Road, exit 1. And in Dunwoody, we have a left lane crash, 285 eastbound, the inner loop, Chamblee Dunwoody Road, exit 30, slowing you from Georgia 400. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
This is WSB meteorologist Christina Upwards. A mix of sun and clouds today, heating up to a high of 87, lows tonight in the mid-60s. Tomorrow, partly cloudy with highs in the upper 80s to low 90s. Rain showers and a few thunderstorms for Saturday morning. Cloudy through the afternoon, high 85.
It's 81 degrees in Woodstock, 80 in Fayetteville. Smyrna has 81, 82 in Midtown Atlanta. More news at 2 o'clock, breaking news when it happens. I'm Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
He's got the courage to tell you the truth, because the truth is what matters. You're listening to The Erick Erickson Show.
Welcome back. It is Erick Erickson here. 877-973-7425 is the phone number. I want to follow up a little more on what Chad and I were talking about in the last segment. Sorry, I had to cut you short there, Chad, to get that ad break in, about universal injunctions, the way they work, and some of the problems with getting rid of them. But before I get back into that subject, let me take Phil's phone call here. Welcome to the show, Phil. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you, Eric. I have a comment about Social Security.
Okay.
I saw an article this morning that said that Social Security was going to be late this month. Well, that's kind of deceptive. I get Social Security on the third Wednesday of every month. Well, the third Wednesday happens to be a little later this month than it normally is. So they're making it sound as if maybe there's not enough money in Social Security, or maybe it's going to be late because of something else. It's just late because Wednesday's later this month.
You know, I'm glad you said that. And one of the very few outlets to actually cover this honestly is Fox News. Let me just read you their explanation here. Social Security beneficiaries will see their payments arrive a little later than normal this month due to a quirk in the safety net program's payment calendar. Social Security Administration determines recipients' payment dates based on their birth dates. Beneficiaries born between the 1st and 10th of the month are paid on the second Wednesday of the month. Those born between the 11th and 20th get their checks on the third Wednesday, and those born after the 20th get paid on the fourth Wednesday. For the month of May, the second Wednesday and first round of payments fell on May 14th, the latest day for the initial tranche of payments of any month on the 2025 calendar. There are several other months with later dates for the initial benefits payments, which fell on the 12th of February, will fall on the 13th of August, and the 12th of November. But this is not something new, and it's not because they're short of funds. It's totally because of the calendar and the rules. So I'm glad you raised that issue. I saw this story earlier come out, and really the Democrats are lying to Social Security recipients, retirees in particular. This is the Trump administration's fault, and that there's no truth to that at all. This is 100% because of the way the calendar works, and it has done this, by the way, for years. But notice how easy it is for the left to get these talking points into the mainstream media, because everything that Donald Trump touches It breaks things on the left when they touch it. Now, I want to get back to this issue. I've got to play you this audio. This is from Amy Coney Barrett and John Sauer. He is the Solicitor General of the United States. He and Barrett engage in this exchange. And I got to tell you, if you want to find a moment where Donald Trump loses a justice of the Supreme Court who might otherwise be with him, this is probably the moment. A moment of probably too much candor. This is the birthright citizenship case, but it's about emergency application on orders blocking Trump's efforts. Now, again, as I mentioned earlier, there are 40 injunctions, universal injunctions against Donald Trump. Most of them have come from 5 judges in 5 districts. And the way it works is when you file a case with the clerk of court in federal court, it is randomly assigned to judges. What oftentimes happens is plaintiffs will go into court with a bunch of cases. Let's say it's 5 different people suing. They'll file 5 individual cases. And they'll be randomly assigned. And the moment the cases get to a favorable judge, the lawyers will move that judge to either consolidate all the cases or they'll get rid of all the other cases and focus on that one case before the favorable judge. And they know, based on the politics of that judge and who appointed them, what the likely outcome is going to be. You don't want to get rid of universal injunctions altogether, I suspect, because let's take an example. There is a medicine. Let's say there's an over-the-counter medicine, and it turns out this over-the-counter medicine is making people sick in all 50 states, and the FDA has not moved quickly. You file a case in federal court, you get the federal court to enjoin the sale of the medicine. Well, if you don't have a universal injunction, that only applies in that district. So you file it in the, let's say, Middle District of Georgia. It only applies in Athens, Georgia, Macon, Georgia, Columbus, Georgia. It doesn't apply even in Atlanta. With a universal injunction, it applies across the nation, and the company making the drug is forced to intervene everywhere. Let's take the illegal immigration situation. The president wants to round up kids of illegal immigrants, even though the kids were born in the country, saying they're not actually citizens, wants to evict them from the country. You file in, let's say, the Northern District of New Jersey. Well, that only applies there without a universal citizenship, without a universal injunction. And so every single district in the country will have to have a lawsuit filed, all on the same matter, in order for kids in each of those districts to be deported. You could say that's fine, but that actually does amount to a burden on the judicial system, overwhelming the entire nation's judicial system. At the same time, what you don't want is a federal judge in a single district to block the federal government constantly just because of the politics of the judge. You don't want that either. And there are problems. John Sauer, the Solicitor General of the United States, made that in his opening today, that the plaintiff only has to win in one court. The defendant has to win in every court, everywhere. The U.S. government has to win every single case in every single district to avoid an injunction, and the plaintiff only needs to find one sympathetic judge in one district in the country to get a universal injunction, and that's too much discrepancy. What the Supreme Court likes, what the progressives and the conservatives on the Supreme Court like, is an articulable rule. What is a rule that is easily explainable, hard to misinterpret, that can apply everywhere? Give us a rule. And part of what happens in these oral arguments is the justices of the Supreme Court are essentially begging the lawyers for both sides to give an easily applicable, articulable rule. And when I say articulable rule, that means a rule that I can explain to you on the radio that you would understand. Occasionally, there are exchanges, however, where lawyers might sabotage themselves. And I suspect this is one of those moments. The Solicitor General, John Sauer, tells Justice Amy Coney Barrett that Trump generally tries to respect federal court decisions, but the president has the right to disregard legal opinions he personally disagrees with. This may persuade Amy Coney Barrett definitely to not give Donald Trump what he wants.
You resisted Justice Kagan when she asked you whether the government would obey within the Second Circuit a precedent. I'm distinguishing between opinions and judgments here. Did I understand you correctly to tell Justice Kagan that the government wanted to reserve its right to maybe not follow a Second Circuit precedent, say, in New York, because you might disagree with the opinion?
Our general practice is to respect those precedents, but there are circumstances when it is not a categorical practice, and that is not
this administration's practice or the longstanding practice of the federal government. And I'm not talking about in the Fourth Circuit, are you going to respect a Second Circuit? I'm talking about within the Second Circuit. And can you say, is that this administration's practice or a longstanding one?
As I understand it, longstanding policy of the Department of Justice, yes, that we generally, as it was phrased to me, generally respect circuit precedent, but not necessarily in every case. And some examples might be a situation where we're litigating to try and get that circuit precedent overruled. And so,
really, she says, really. Now, listen, it is fair to say that if you have two circuits, and for those of you new to this, let me explain this to you. Every state is divided into federal districts. Most states have multiple districts. So, for example, in my state, there's a northern district of Georgia, middle district of Georgia, and a southern district of Georgia. To make things even more confusing, in my state, they run diagonally across the state. So you would think that Atlanta and Athens, Georgia, which are nearly on the same line of latitude, would both be in the northern district of Georgia. But because the districts run diagonally, Athens, Georgia, is in the middle district of Georgia, which covers Athens, Macon, and Columbus. Then you have the Southern District of Georgia, which covers Savannah and Albany, Georgia. And then you have the Northern District of Georgia, which covers Atlanta and Rome, Gainesville, Georgia. It's very odd. Some districts have central districts. Usually they're northern, middle, and southern. Some have eastern and western. And then those states then, so you've got, for example, Georgia has northern, middle, and southern. And then Georgia, Alabama, and Florida are together within the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. And so clusters of states are in circuits. Now, the general rule of thumb is that when a district judge issues an opinion, it only applies within that district. So if a judge in the Middle District of Georgia, let's say Judge Tillman himself III here in the Middle District of Georgia issues an opinion, it only applies in the Middle District of Georgia. And then that opinion can be appealed up to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals because the Middle District of Georgia is in Georgia. Georgia's in the 11th Circuit. So it goes to the 11th Circuit, which is headquartered in Atlanta. They have a hearing and they say Judge Tillman himself III is correct. Well, then that decision now is binding for Florida, Georgia, and Alabama. But now let's say there's a competing case. Thomas Ortlicker of the Eastern District of, Texas. He makes a ruling that is completely opposite what Judge Tillman himself III in Georgia says, and Judge Ortlicker's case goes up to the 5th Circuit Court of Appeals, which is headquartered in New Orleans. Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi are in the 5th Circuit Court of Appeals, and the 5th Circuit Court of Appeals says that Judge Ortlicker is right. The 11th Circuit Court of Appeals says that Judge Self is right. They're in conflict, so those cases now go to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court must decide whether Judge Ortlicker or Judge Self are correct, whether the 11th Circuit or the 5th Circuit got it right. And when they decide that obviously Judge Self is the correct one and Judge Ortlicker is the fool, well, then Judge Self's opinion through the Supreme Court becomes the law of the whole land. I'm not making up Ortlicker. That actually, the horn book in college for my contracts class was a Professor Ortlicker. Yes, so that's a real name. I don't know why, but it is a real name. So, nonetheless, the problem here is how do we deal with the lack of restraint from some partisan judges on issuing universal injunctions? Given that exchange with Justice Barrett and the Solicitor General, I actually have a hard time believing. I mean, her really? The way she said it, and look, I don't think she's going to do there anyway. She is on record not liking the prevalence of universal injunctions. But she has said in the past as well that they might sometimes be necessary. So they're looking for a rule. They're looking for an easily understandable, easily applicable rule that is not so complicated that it gives these judges leeway around the rule to continue what they're doing. And I suspect that we may be getting to the point where universal injunctions, by and large, are going to go away, or to a degree, but they're not going to go away completely. I do actually think we're going to get some restraint. We need restraint because it is being abused. And by the way, it's not being abused just by progressives. When Democrats are the White House, conservatives take advantage of it as well. The difference, however, is, and the numbers bear this out, by the way, there are far fewer conservative judges willing to exercise universal injunctions than progressive judges. And oftentimes those progressive judges, their universal injunction gets thrown out over time. But it takes a long time. It slows things down. And that's part of the process here, is that the thinking by progressives right now is that Donald Trump really only has until January 1st, 2023, 2027, because Democrats will win in the midterms. And then the Democrats will start restraining him. And until then, they've got to work through progressives in courts to restrain him. And so they're just trying to slow the clock down. They don't think they're going to win with the Supreme Court. They're just trying to slow down all the cases so that they can't get. Maybe what happens is in 28, a Democrat wins, and then those Democrats change their positions. And by the time these cases get to the Supreme Court, the incoming administration takes a different position. That's all they're trying to do here with these judges, is slow the clock down. And the justices of the Supreme Court today noted that was one of the strategies here, was just trying to slow things down for political outcomes to change, and that really isn't the purpose of a universal injunction. So I do think they're going to be restrained. I just don't think they're going to go away completely. Now, I want you to be restrained from going to the big box electronics store to buy your next computer, because you get a better deal at Vision Computers. I don't care if you're in Kalispell, Montana, if you're in Hartford, Connecticut. Listen, you can use Vision Computers. They're headquartered in Atlanta, but they help companies and individuals in all 50 states. They can get you the computer you need, the computer you want, the computer that you're going to be able to upgrade over time, and then you get their amazing 5-star customer service for free with the computer. You go to visioncomputers.com, or you call them at 404-COMPUTE. You tell them Eric sent you. You're going to get even a better discount, a better deal. And let's just say you want Vision Computers' world-class customer service, but you don't need a new computer. You can pay $179 a year for your computer and get it. If you're in a company, it'll save you on IT costs. Just sign up each of your computers with Vision, and your assistant, your employee, whoever, will get a special number to call. Reach out to Vision. They'll take care of the computers. They can even remote in, so you don't have to pay the 6-figure salary for the in-house IT guy. VisionComputers.com or 404-COMPUTE. Tell them I told you to call. You'll save even more money.
When the truth seems hazy, Eric will clear the way. It's the Eric Erickson Show.
151, Cool Ray Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. Been dealing with a left lane crash, 285 eastbound, the Interloop Chambly Dunwoody Road, exit 30. Slow in the ride as you leave Georgia 400. Checking on possible new trouble on the 285 east ramp to 85 northbound. And heads up northeast Atlanta, police activity shutting down Monroe Drive near Piedmont Avenue. Traffic being rerouted through the Ansley Mall Shopping Center. Traffic brought to you by Rapid Radios. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage for a limited time. Go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off and for UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
I'm Chris Chandler. When you join us Friday starting at 5 a.m. for Atlanta's Morning News, we'll get you ready for the weekend ahead with a rainy, maybe stormy forecast. How Clark Howard says you can tariff-proof your life. We'll travel to the Mideast, have our live Friday chat with CBS's Nancy Cordes to wrap up the president's very newsworthy trip there. And remember, our 5K a day bonus blitz continues. Your chance to win $1,000 coming up on 95.5 WSB.
You might think a window is just a window until you have to replace yours.
Yeah, we hear that all the time. But nope, all windows are not the same.
It's Jonathan and Ted from North Georgia Replacement Windows.
Upgrade now to beautiful Infinity from Marvin fiberglass windows to improve energy efficiency, comfort, and curb appeal.
Experience the Infinity fiberglass difference at your home or in our new Alpharetta showroom. Don't buy just any window.
Invest in your home.
Infinity from Marvin Replacement Windows, yeah!
City of Hope, a place where seemingly impossible blood cancers become treatable, curable. With more than 19,000 bone marrow transplants performed, we're the largest and most successful program in the U.S. making major breakthroughs in treating leukemia, lymphoma, and rare blood cancers, personalizing a treatment plan right down to your DNA. Now the experts striving to make the impossible a reality are closer to home. Learn more at cityofhope.org.
Termites have one job: to eat 24/7, and your home is directly in their path of destruction. Mark Aram here for my pals at Breda Pest Management. When something threatens the safety of your home, you want a complete barrier, not just a bait station. Only Breda offers Termidor, a liquid barrier system providing total protection. And Breda knows how critical it is to protect the inside of your home, not just the outside, from these eating machines. How are you supposed to know that your home's termite-free inside when your current termite company just walks around the outside of your house checking those bait stations? Breda is better at beating termites. So I want you to switch your termite protection to Breda now, and your rate locked in for 10 whole years, just like my house. Breda Pest Management, they handle bugs and critters like termites. Get started at bredapest.com.
Breda, Breda, no need to be afraid of bugs.
WSB Atlanta, WSBB FM, and HD1 Doraville. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
It's graduation season. This is Jonathan Geller at D. Geller & Son Jewelers, where we've been helping Atlanta celebrate those special moments since 1939. Graduation gifts symbolize a new stage of life. Off to college? Give her something she can wear every day to remind her of home, like our Heart in Georgia necklace, a pendant in the shape of her home state, set with the birthstone of your choice for just $155. Celebrate graduation with a lifelong treasure at D. Geller & Son, in Kennesaw, Sandy Springs, and online at dgeller.com.
Turn your backyard into your family's favorite hangout to have fun, entertain, and celebrate this summer in a Bullfrog hot tub from Brown's Pools and Spas. Only Bullfrog offers the Jetpack Therapy system, allowing you to customize each seat to fit every body in your family. Right now, shop the Memorial Day hot tub sale. Instant rebates up to $2,500 or a free audio upgrade on select models. Hurry, offer ends May 27th. You'll be so glad you went to Brown's Pools and Spas. BrownsPools.com.
Hello and welcome. It is Eric Harrison. I got to tell you all about a meeting I went to last night, and I had no idea this was a thing. It's called LifeWise Academy, and particularly those of you listening, WHIO in Dayton, Ohio, y'all are familiar with this because it started up there. So LifeWise Academy, the Supreme Court of the 1950s said that schools can do something called release time. And so during the school day, kids are allowed to leave the school campus to go to a privately funded religious education program. So here's how it works. You know how in schools, like in elementary school in particular, there are once a week you may have like the library time, or you may have art time or music time once a week. Well, in most states, and something like 35 states, kids are allowed to leave the school during that time. Instead of going to library time or art time, they can go to a Bible education class run by a local church. And this LifeWise Academy is partnering with schools around the country where they find a church across the street or just down the street, or in some cases they are able to put in a mobile location that the kids can walk across school parking lot to, and they essentially do the Bible curriculum from Lifeway, the publishing company. They've got a great gospel project. It takes the kids in a 5-year period from say first grade through fifth grade through the Bible. And I'm like, you're allowed to do this in states many people don't know. Now, my state in Georgia doesn't have a law that allows release time. Most states do. Georgia doesn't. And some school districts in Georgia have flat out refused to allow this release time. Some districts in Georgia do. I had never heard of this thing. Lifewise.org is the website. What a neat program. And there are a lot of schools that are now asking for a LifeWise Academy to start up in their local district because they're finding that the kids who participate tend to be more engaged in school over time. It's just, wow, lifewise.org. I was impressed. Now, I'm also impressed with Omaha Steaks doing a 50% off sale for Memorial Day, and you can go to omahasteaks.com and you fill up your cart And then at checkout, you'll see a promo code box, and you put in Eric, E-R-I-C-K, and you'll get $35 extra off. Now, for perspective, in this time of inflation and tariffs and everything else, you go to omahasteaks.com, and literally everything on that site right now is 50% off. And then at checkout, you put in Eric, E-R-I-C-K, you get another $35 off. Minimum order required. You get steak, chicken, pork, seafood, ready-made meals, desserts, you name it. And Memorial Day is coming up. You want to load up your cart in time for Memorial Day. You want deliciousness from Omaha Steaks. You want to put on their New York strips. And by the way, they're aged. They're hand-cut by butchers, and they're aged steaks, and they're fantastic. I love their New York strips. And also the bacon wrap fillets. The bacon wrap fillets at Omaha Steaks are so good. And the smash burgers are great. They have so much good stuff. My wife loves the caramel apple tartlets. omahasteaks.com. Put Eric in as your promo code at checkout. Get an extra $35 off everything on the site. 50% off right now.
Hey, it's Shelley Winter here for my good friends at PalmettoSleep.com. Let's talk about a serious business, sleep apnea. I suffer from it, and whether you've been diagnosed with it or afraid you have it, I have the solution. Palmetto Sleep is here to give you your life back. They make it easy to get help for sleep apnea because living without a good night's sleep is simply no way to live. Palmetto Sleep offers a custom-fitted oral appliance that opens your airway so you naturally breathe the way nature intended. The best part is they offer virtual consultations and in-home sleep testing. No overnight stays at a sleep center. Plus, Palmetto Sleep has all the doctors that you will need. Most appointments are virtual, and it's all covered by your private medical insurance. Don't suffer from another sleepless night or daytime fatigue like I do. Visit PalmettoSleep.com now. Visit PalmettoSleep.com. That's PalmettoSleep.com.
News, weather,
Traffic. 95.5 WSB. Atlanta's News and Talk.
At 2 o'clock, I'm Bill Caiaccio with our top local story. It's happening now. Work to repair a big sinkhole on a busy road in downtown Atlanta.
It could be the weekend before traffic patterns return to normal on Shirley Franklin Boulevard in southwest Atlanta. Multiple lanes are closed near the state capitol between Rawson Street and Memorial Drive. Atlanta Watershed Management says the pavement collapsed due to work from a private contractor. They were excavating on the next block, which caused an abandoned line to fill with water, made worse by the recent rain. Crews are capping the line. Drivers are urged to avoid the area until repair work is finished. Amanda Moyer, 95.5 WSB.
84 degrees in Atlanta.
The Atlanta real estate market.
84 degrees in Atlanta, above average temperatures the next couple of days. Meteorologist Christina Edwards has Atlanta's most accurate and dependable forecast coming up. A man who sexually assaulted a woman in her Gwinnett County home 3 years ago is headed to prison.
It took a Gwinnett County jury no time to find
Residential
53-year-old
real estate.
Christopher Raymond Clamp guilty. Gwinnett County District Attorney Patsy Austin Gadsden says he was found guilty of several charges of aggravated assault, sodomy, and kidnapping. He held the victim captive for 2 days.
These crimes he did added up to the point where the judge gave him a life sentence plus 90 years.
Now, the defendant who broke into that victim's home and brutally attacked her over those 2 days in 2022 will now find himself behind bars for the rest of his life. Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
WSB Money Update. Walmart announces plans to raise prices on some items by the end of the month because of tariffs. WSB consumer expert Clark Howard says this paves the way for price hikes at other major retailers.
This isn't just Walmart. This is everybody. Doesn't matter who you buy from, big or small. If they buy goods from overseas, they're going to be more expensive.
He says stores will also likely start putting fewer items on sale as a way to make up for lost revenue. A police officer is injured while working in a construction zone on I-20 eastbound near Wesley Chapel Road. The officer was in a patrol vehicle when it was struck by a motorist.
Investigators also arrested the driver suspected of hitting the officer's car. That driver faces a DUI charge.
DeKalb Police spokesman Blaine Clark says the injured officer is from Greensboro and was working a part-time job protecting workers in the construction zone. The U.S. Supreme Court set to rule on a case that could limit the power of federal judges. It's related to an executive order from President Trump aiming to end birthright citizenship. The case brought before the High Court today isn't directly about the constitutionality of the order, but the scope with which lower courts can issue nationwide injunctions. It is now 2:02. This news is sponsored by Brett Beckers. Up next, live team coverage of traffic and weather.
These days, the Atlanta real estate market is just like Atlanta weather, unpredictable. Hi, I'm Deborah Morton, host of Inside Georgia Real Estate here on WSB every Saturday at 1 p.m. If there was ever a time to work with a true real estate expert, now is that time. In all my years in residential real estate, this is the most change and volatility I've seen. A misstep could cost thousands. This is when experience matters. My team and I are passionate about providing clarity to our clients through our expertise in real estate. So, if you're thinking of buying or selling a home, we can give you that clarity so you can make great choices and the best decisions. And yes, I host Inside Georgia Real Estate here on WSB, but you don't have to wait until Saturday for help. Go to InsideGeorgiaRealEstate.com and ask me anything. My team and I are here for you. Go to InsideGeorgiaRealEstate.com for clarity in buying or selling your home.
As a business owner, if you had attempted fraud on your bank account today, how would you know? Do you have tools in place to detect and prevent it? I'm Brian Parks, head of commercial banking in Atlanta for Ameris Bank. Our local bankers are here to guide your company and make recommendations for your business, including fraud prevention tools like Positive Pay. This month, Ameris is offering a free on-demand cybersecurity and fraud prevention webinar. To view the webinar and learn more about how our bankers can help you protect your business, visit amerisbank.com/businessmonth. Ameris Bank, fiercely yours, member FDIC.
Now is the season to have AquaGuard Foundation Solutions save your crawl space from the bad things down there and make the air you breathe in your home healthier with a crawl space encapsulation. Simply set up a free inspection at aquaguard.net. Remember, AquaGuard.
Stay comfortable at home all year long with Jape Services. Hi, this is Daniel Jape, and our team has decades of experience servicing Atlanta's heating and cooling needs, which means you can count on us. We're licensed, insured, and I personally guarantee when you call Jape Services, you'll be treated just like family. Call us 24/7 or book online at japeservices.com. That's JAPE services.com.
Jape Services.
Protect your turf from termites. Call Breda Pest Management. They handle bugs and critters. And Breda's proud to sponsor Scott Slade's Georgia every Thursday on Atlanta's Morning News.
Breda, no need to be afraid of bugs.
It is 2:05, time for live team coverage of traffic and weather. Alex Williams in the 24-hour traffic center.
Hey, good afternoon, Bill. Just found new trouble in Spaghetti Junction. Thanks to traffic trooper Bob, spotted it first. We see it now on the jam cam. Right side of the 285 East Interloop ramp to I-85 northbound there in Spaghetti Junction, blocked with a crash. Earlier stall, 285 eastbound, the Interloop Chambly Dunwoody exit 30 that was in the left lane. That has since cleared, so that's helping improve delays as you leave Georgia 400. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Christina Upwards. Partly cloudy today, high 87. That's trending about 6 degrees above average for this afternoon. Lows tonight in the mid-60s. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, highs in the upper 80s to low 90s. Watching for heavy rain and thunderstorms early Saturday morning. Cloudy in the afternoon, high 85.
It's 82 in Tucker, 83 in Villa Rica, and 82 in Riverdale. More news at 2:30. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Bill Caiaccio, 95.5 WSB.
It's the WSB 5K a day bonus blitz. This hour's keyword is day.
It's a beautiful day.
D-A-Y. Go to the WSB Radio app or WSBRadio.com/cash for your chance to win. Again, that keyword is day. D-A-Y. Join me live at 3 for the Von Haessler Doctrine, and I'll have your next keyword and chance to win at 5.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Conversationalists, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States of America. The phone number 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I'd be very happy to have you. You can text the word Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. Get the live stream, show notes, podcast, social media links. If you wouldn't mind texting the word donate to 33777. Helping a good cause out for a family in need, I would appreciate it. We got to talk about Harvard. Let's go in the Wayback Machine. Way back. Before 1971, Bob Jones University would not allow black students. Bob Jones University is a fundamentalist Christian university in Greenville, South Carolina, conservative, evangelical. It has, I think, around 3,000 students. It is used to be tied very much into fundamentalism and moved on to, I guess you now call them really just evangelical. Bob Jones, until 1971, would not allow black students. From 1971 until 1975, they allowed black students only if they were married. After 1975, they allowed black students, but would not allow anyone, quote, admission to applicants engaged in an interracial marriage or known to advocate interracial marriage or dating. Before 1970, IRS regulations allowed tax-exempt status to private schools regardless of racial admissions policies. Then, after 1970, the IRS changed its rule and required public and private religious institutions, not public, but private religious educational institutions, to give up racial discrimination. Bob Jones sued in 1971. The Supreme Court ruled against Bob Jones, and they lost their tax-exempt status. The court, Warren Burger wrote it. It was an 8-1 decision. Warren Burger, William Brennan, Byron White, Thurgood Marshall, Harry Blackmun, John Paul Stevens, and Sandra Day O'Connor. And this was the holding. Government has a fundamental overriding interest in eradicating racial discrimination in education, which substantially outweighs whatever burden denial of tax benefits places on the university's exercise of their religious beliefs. However, the opinion only applied to religious schools, not churches or other purely religious institutions. William Rehnquist was the sole dissenter. He argued that the literal terms of the governing statute could not be read to exclude Bob Jones from charitable status, but otherwise wasn't necessarily opposed to prohibitions on racial discrimination. In the year 2000, Bob Jones dropped its interracial dating ban. In the year 2000, the school has regained its tax-exempt status as of 2017. Now, that was the case. That was Bob Jones. The Supreme Court says that it is of paramount government interest to get rid of racial discrimination in higher education. The Trump administration, this is in City Journal by Chris Rufo and Ryan Thorpe. The Trump administration has escalated its battle with Harvard University, freezing all future grants and threatening to strip the school's tax-exempt status. In response, Harvard has adopted some conciliatory measures, rebranding its DEI office and canceling its racially segregated graduation ceremonies. But behind the scenes, the university's discrimination machine continues to operate at full capacity. Again, this is Chris Rufo and Ryan Thorpe. They're writing in City Journal about what they found at Harvard. Let me read you this because this is intriguing findings from these guys. We've obtained a trove of internal documents that reveal Harvard's racial favoritism in faculty and administrative hiring. The university's DEI programs are more than unconscious bias training. They are vectors for systemic discrimination against disfavored groups, namely white men. As one Harvard researcher told us, endless evidence suggests the university continues to discriminate against the supposed oppressor class in hiring and promotions. For years, Harvard's DEI department has explicitly sought to engineer a more racially diverse faculty pool. The university-wide Inclusive Harvard Initiative provided guidelines and training for those involved in the hiring process, and was explicitly tied to Harvard's DEI goals. The stated mission of the initiatives is to install an understanding of how departments can leverage the selection process to build an increasingly diverse workforce. In another hiring guide, Best Practices for Conducting Faculty Searches, the university recommends several discriminatory practices. At the beginning of the hiring process, Harvard instructs search committees to, quote, ensure that the early lists include women and minorities, and to, quote, consider reading the applications of women and minorities first. The university counsels that committee chairs should, quote, continually monitor the racial composition of the candidate list, and as they narrow it down, quote, attend to all women and minorities on the long list. Harvard deliberately factors race into its hiring process. The university gives committee chairs privileged access to self-identified demographic data, including gender, race, and ethnicity, and encourages chairs to use the information to encourage diversity in the application pool, long list, and short list. Harvard admits that some of its hiring programs have explicit placement goals for women and minorities, which, despite the university's denial, functions as a soft quota. In the past, the university has made extensive use of DEI statements, a required qualification for all position descriptions and job postings, and universities supplied diversity-related example interview questions, which effectively filtered out candidates who did not adhere to the principles of left-wing radicalism. Though Harvard's Faculty of Arts and Sciences officially discontinued its use of mandatory DEI statements last year, the university continues to promote non-mandatory diversity statements for faculty positions and includes language about diversity, equity, and inclusion as guiding principles. This is discrimination. I mean, you can't really say anything other than this is a violation of the law. Harvard's discriminatory programs are not limited to faculty hiring. According to one of the internal documents we obtained, the university has adopted explicit racial hiring goals for administrative and support positions under the guise of affirmative action, which, by the way, the Supreme Court has very clearly said is unconstitutional. For various divisions and occupations within the school, Harvard lists the percentage of each workforce that belongs to a protected class as well as target goals. For example, the university declared a goal of increasing the share of minorities in one department's alumni affairs office nearly sixfold, and of raising the share of female assistants in the School of Public Health to more than 90%. Employers seldom set goals like these if they don't intend for them to be acted on, according to Gail Harriet, a law professor who sits on the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights. She characterized Harvard's practice of making candidates swear fealty to DEI as a form of ideological conditioning. At other universities, faculty candidates who respond to such inquiries by saying that they treat all individuals equally regardless of race, ethnicity, or sex get excluded from consideration. The same is probably in store for any job candidate at Harvard who dissents from campus orthodoxy. They are willfully discriminating against employees, and not just professors, but at all levels of the university, Harvard is discriminating. That runs them headlong into the Bob Jones issue. Now, Bob Jones specifically applied to racial integration of the student body, but it doesn't really take a whole lot to extrapolate Bob Jones into the hiring practices of universities, particularly when you also go to the prior Harvard case that involved the discrimination of Asian minorities on campus. The most racist people in America are good, rich, white progressives. Wealthy white progressives are the loudest opponents of school choice because they don't want poor black kids in their kids' private school. Wealthy white progressives are the biggest enablers of affirmative action because they wish to virtue signal on hiring, but also they wish to preclude white conservatives from getting jobs. They are the biggest proponents of white paternalism in minority communities. Black families in poor communities don't want to defund the police, but the rich white people do. And the rich white people are perfectly happy discriminating against white people. Look at the Afrikaner situation, the immigrants from South Africa, and the media which has insisted America have open borders and allow mass migration into this country, and suddenly it's white people from South Africa. They're like, no, close the border. We don't want those people, because rich white progressives have a real self-loathing of white people. Rich white progressives do not like to see white people succeed because in their mind, it virtue signals to them and makes them feel good about themselves that they are racist against white people. In the words of John Roberts, the easiest way to stop discriminating is to stop discriminating. That's the Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court. The easiest way to stop discriminating is to stop discriminating. And yet, rich white progressives love to discriminate. I was skeptical that the Trump administration had a good claim against Harvard and its tax-exempt status in light of the documents uncovered by Chris Rufo. I still think it's an uphill battle for the Trump administration because I have a hard time, honestly, seeing the Supreme Court say rejecting Harvard's status, its tax-exempt status. But it's pretty clear Harvard engages in systemic discrimination, and Harvard is systemically racist, particularly against white people and Asians. It is indisputable, based on their own internal documents, that Harvard is hiring based on race and sex, which you can't do in this country. The Supreme Court's been very clear. And yet the lawyers at Harvard have seemed to propose a guide where they can skirt around the legal challenges and try to engage in racial discrimination. I don't think they can. And I think that the good progressives at Harvard actually are risking their tax-exempt status over this. And I actually think it would probably be a good thing if they lost their tax-exempt status, in large part because it would teach all of these universities a lesson. Universities across the country, particularly private institutions, have become increasingly progressive. They are hostile to people of faith, unless the faith isn't Christianity or Judaism. They are hostile to white people. They are hostile to men. They are certainly hostile to conservatives. They are ideological purists as long as the ideology is progressivism. You can never be progressive enough. Conservatives are forbidden, and white conservatives in particular are precluded. It is a lot of discrimination. It's not just at Harvard. It's at universities across the country, including private universities in the South. I think it would be good for education if Harvard lost its tax-exempt status based on these documents, because these institutions need to understand that racial discrimination of any kind is wrong, including racial discrimination against white people. And Harvard, based on the documents found by Chris Rufo, it very clearly appears to be engaged in racial discrimination, and that should put their tax-exempt status at risk.
Follow Eric on X, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. Search EW Erickson.
220 Cool Ray Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. Right now, all lanes are blocked on the 285 eastbound, inner loop ramp to I-85 northbound. Hero trying to clear up this crash has been blocking the right side of that ramp. That's adding to delays back through Doraville. Also seeing a few brake lights, 400 northbound passing Abernathy. Crash trying to clear out of the roadway there. Traffic brought to you by Rapid Radios. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off and for UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
It's the WSB 5K a day bonus blitz. This hour's keyword is day. D-A-Y. Go to the WSB Radio app or WSBradio.com/cash for your chance to win. Again, that keyword is day. D-A-Y. Join me live at 3 for the Von Haessler Doctrine, and I'll have your next keyword and chance to win at 5.
You still want a new deck on your house, but you think you may have missed a deck building window? Well, you're wrong. Dave Baker here. At Ben Hill Renovations, deck building goes on year-round. Whether your existing deck is old, rotting, and unsafe, or you just want to upgrade your outdoor living space, now is the perfect time to get the ball rolling. Check out their new website at bhrenovations.com. Better yet, go to their showroom, speak with the designer, and see all that they have to offer up close. Ben Hill Renovations, creating raving fans since 1964.
I'm here with Chris Hoffman, the founder of Hoffman Financial Group and host of Money Unleashed. Chris, with all the things we're reading, seeing, and living through these days, from rate cuts, election season, and now a new administration, now seems like a great time to make sure we have that comprehensive plan in place. You know, the one that covers all our financial bases.
There are occasions throughout the year where I feel like it's critical for people to engage their financial lives and get the information that they deserve from a financial advisory team. And this is one of those times, to be quite frank. So we ask that you call us if you have a minimum of $500,000 in your full portfolio. But we're going to do away with that minimum so that those folks can have an equal opportunity to understand what's in their portfolio as well. Now, you have to have some money, right? I can't help you to build your wealth at work, right? But I sure can help, I believe, with your 401k, IRA management. There's probably 2 or 3 things that'll surprise you that you may want to take action on. So the next 10 people that call in will work up either a portfolio x-ray, or if you feel like you need a full retirement plan, go to unleashyourmoney.com, click on portfolio x-ray, or click on full retirement plan. We think you'll be impressed enough, and we want you to become a client. There's no question about it. We believe that we are a very competent fiduciary advisory team, and we want to offer that to our listeners. Let Hoffman Financial Group actually show you how we perform, and I believe we perform at the pinnacle of this industry.
Call the Hoffman Financial Group at 404-737-3858, 404-737-3858, or online at unleashyourmoney.com. Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Wealth Advisors, a registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Hoffman Financial Group Incorporated, Georgia Insurance License number 163546.
Comcast Business is celebrating Small Business Month by giving you a $1,000 small business bonus when you switch to a qualifying gig speed package from the company with over 99.99% network reliability. Just imagine the thousands of possibilities of a $1,000 prepaid card. Like possibility number 1, company merch for staff. Styling. Or possibility number 24, the latest software. Upgrade. Or possibility number 192, new equipment powered by gig speeds. Or possibility number 555, a 3D printer. Rapid prototyping, anyone? Switch to Comcast Business for over 99.99% network reliability, advanced cybersecurity, and now get started with a $1,000 small business bonus. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
And 62225, new customers only with 2-year agreement. Other restrictions apply.
When it's time to replace your windows, make sure you have options and get to choose the energy-efficient window that is right for your home, your style, and your budget. Dave Baker here for the only window company I recommend, Nelson Exteriors. With Nelson, you're in charge. Choose from many top-rated window manufacturers like Andersen and MI, all backed by Nelson's worry-free lifetime labor warranty. For your replacement windows, pick the company that's more picky than you. Google Nelson Exteriors.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Taking the complicated and making it simple. It's the Eric Erickson Show.
Welcome back. The phone number 877-973-7425. Let's go to Springfield, Ohio. Bob, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm well, Eric. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure. What's going on?
Earlier in your commentary, you had mentioned that the Supreme Court was looking for a solid rule that they could follow. Why couldn't the rule be that whenever a district judge makes a universal injunction, that's automatically appealed to the Supreme Court and then they have to deal with it?
Oh, that's actually a great question. So part of the problem here is the way our both Constitution and federal judicial law works is that appeals from district courts aren't directly appealable to the Supreme Court. They got to go through the circuit court. What the Supreme Court could do, however, is tell the circuit courts that a universal injunction is an immediately appealable question, and that a universal appeal, once a universal injunction, if appealed, doesn't go into effect until after appellate consideration. That's actually something they may wind up doing, is saying, because a lot of times what happens is the appellate courts think that the district court has command of the facts. And because they have command of the facts, the district court itself should be taken, whatever it decides the facts are, should actually be considered. What the Supreme Court could do is essentially tell the courts of appeals, you've got to consider universal injunctions, and you got to do it once an appeal is filed, and you're going to have to actually make a determination that it's legitimate, not based off just what the district court says. Be willing to second guess the district court. That's something they could do. I suspect we're going to see something like that where they allow a greater appellate review of and encourage the circuit courts to actually engage in reviewing universal injunctions. Because look, I mean, if we could just step back for a second from the partisanship of it, you can, I think, reasonably see a reason for a universal injunction. And let's take the pharmaceutical example, that there is a lawsuit filed because a drug is causing injury. The FDA has been slow to respond. It would probably behoove us to recognize that when the court case is filed in the Eastern District of Texas, that judge should be able to say, whoa, we're going to put on hold all sales of this medicine everywhere nationwide. This is a serious issue. When you add in the politics of it, though, and it's not a drug, but it's a Trump administration policy, then people start getting their back up one way or the other. So how do you balance that there are situations where it's necessary? What the conservatives seem to be wanting to do is to move everything into class action lawsuits. And that slows the train down, prevents universal injunctions, expands a class of people. And that may actually be where they go, is saying treat them like a class action lawsuit. We'll see. Now, I need you to go see oldglorybank.com. If you are buying a business, you're growing your company and you need a bank account. You need to put your money somewhere. And you're worried because you're a conservative business. You're worried about the debanking trends. Old Glory Bank is a conservative bank by conservatives for conservatives. They're going to protect you. You're not going to have to worry about them harassing you because progressive shareholders say so. If you're an individual and you want to do business with conservatives, you want to do business with good people, you want a bank where you can get a free checking in your savings account, that have great app, online bill pay tools, budgeting tools, things like that. Old Glory Bank. They can be your bank. They're my bank. They actually are my bank. OldGloryBank.com. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Let's say you want to invest in a bank like Old Glory Bank. You can go to own.oldglorybank.com. Buy shares in Old Glory Bank. They bypass Wall Street for Main Street. They don't want the progressives buying up the shares. You can own.oldglorybank.com. Shares go up and down. They're not FDIC insured. You should talk to an advisor, not me, about buying stock.
Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios.
News,
weather,
traffic.
95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's News and Talk.
At 2:30, I'm Bill Caiaccio with our top story. The U.S. Supreme Court hears arguments today over President Trump's order ending birthright citizenship. CBS legal correspondent Jan Crawford reports at issue is whether 3 lower courts have the authority to block Trump's order nationwide or just in the 22 states that challenge the order.
I think clearly there are 5 justices, a majority, who would like to end nationwide injunctions. They think that they're inappropriate, they're unnecessary. There are other ways to go about guaranteeing people's rights, and that is not it. The question is, how are they going to go about doing that? How are they going to write that opinion? It's going to be fascinating to see kind of whether they're able to.
A decision in the case could come at the end of June. Repair work on a busy road in downtown Atlanta could take several more days after a big sinkhole opens up. Atlanta Watershed Management says pavement on Shirley Franklin Boulevard collapsed due to work from a private contractor. They were excavating on the next block, which caused an abandoned line to fill with water, which was made worse by the recent rains. Crews are capping the line and anticipate traffic patterns will return to normal by the weekend. Multiple lanes of Shirley Franklin Boulevard are closed now near the state capitol between Rawson Street and Memorial Drive. Georgia's unemployment rate in April is holding steady from the month before at 3.6%. It is 0.6 lower than the national jobless rate. The post office out with new numbers regarding delivery times, and there is slight improvement here in Georgia. On-time delivery rates in the state are up from a year ago when the recently opened distribution center in Palmetto was overloaded by problems, but Georgia is still lagging far behind the national average. It is 2:32. This news sponsored by FGA Roofing.
Joel, it's Eric. I know as a homeowner, you start seeing the cracks in the wall or the door starts sticking. You wonder what's going on. You could have a foundation problem. Engineered Solutions of Georgia is the only foundation repair company in Georgia with licensed engineers on staff providing the highest quality of work. If you got concerns, reach out to them for a free inspection. Go to ESOGrepair.com. That's ESOGrepair.com.
Dial 678 ESOG now.
This is Andy Harris, president of Coosa Valley Credit Union, inviting you to come see us for your auto loan needs. If you're buying a car or refinancing your current auto loan, at Coosa Valley Credit Union, you'll get one of the lowest interest rates in the market. Now, auto loan rates are as low as 3.99 APR when you open an account with a direct deposit. Coosa Valley Credit Union is local and nearby in Northwest Georgia. Plus, you'll always speak to a real person when dealing with us. That's what we call kinder banking.
Contact 706-235-8551 for more details. Equal Opportunity Lender.
Hey, folks, it's Shelley Winter here. Sometimes they make fun of me around the office because I doze off at my desk while doing show prep. Well, you know why that happened? It's because of a lack of sleep. I have sleep apnea. So if you snore or have sleep apnea also, you're not living life to the fullest. So listen up. I know you're tired, but in all seriousness, this is important. My friends over at Palmetto Sleep are changing lives with a custom-fit oral appliance that stops your snoring and treats sleep apnea. I'm not talking about something you buy out of a supermarket. This is a custom-made for your mouth and covered by your private medical insurance. What I love most is that they do everything from the diagnosis to the delivery of the oral appliance and everything in between. They even provide a take-home sleep study and virtual consults. If you're ready for a great night's sleep, you are ready for Palmetto Sleep. Go to palmettosleep.com. That's palmettosleep.com right now. Don't suffer from another sleepless night. palmettosleep.com.
An investment in your home is something that will pay off in the future, but it's something that you can enjoy right now. Hi, I'm Dan Watkins, owner of All Four Seasons Garage, Entry Doors, and Windows. A beautiful new garage door, entry doors, and windows are an investment you can love every day, and they will increase your home's value, energy efficiency, and curb appeal. All Four Seasons, trusted in Atlanta for over 25 years, exceptional customer service, and high-quality work. When trust matters, trust us. All the number 4 Seasons Garage. At
234, Alex Williams in the traffic center.
Earlier crash, 285 east, the inner loop ramp to I-85 north there in Spaghetti Junction, now on the right shoulder, but 285 eastbound, you're already seeing the afternoon brake lights picking up back through Dunwoody. Traveling downtown, slow southbound from the 85-400 merge down past North Avenue. Northbound delays University Avenue up past Peachtree Pine. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Christina Upwards. Partly cloudy and very warm today, high 87.
Next rain chance very early Saturday morning. Right now 84 in Snellville, 83 in Dallas, and 83 in Ackworth. More news at 3 o'clock. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Bill Caiaccio, 95.5 WSB.
Smart, fearless, and occasionally funny. You're listening to The Eric Erickson Show.
Greetings, welcome. It is Eric Erickson. The phone number 877-973-7425. Ladies and gentlemen, I try not to bore you with repetitious stories. I try to keep you company. Try to keep you entertained. This may be a little bit broken record, and I don't mean it to be, but there is a story. It hit the wires late yesterday. The North American Electric Reliability Corporation forecast shows the nation is straining to keep up with electricity demand. We could face blackouts this summer. This is from the Washington Post. A large swath of the United States is facing a heightened risk of blackouts this summer, a perennial danger as electricity use soars and extreme weather tests the nation's aging power grid, according to the regulatory authority that monitors the electricity system. The seasonal electricity forecast warns that regional power grids extending from the upper Midwest south through Texas may lack the power needed to meet all customer needs in the event of prolonged periods of high temperatures. The shortfall, according to a new report from the North American Electric Reliability Corporation, or NERC, a nonprofit organization dedicated to reducing risks to power networks, is driven in large part by a steep increase in projected electricity demand, Power demand is sharply up since the summer of last year, increasing at more than double the rate it did from 2023 to 2024. But wait, there's more. There's more. The NERC report points to the transition to green sources of energy as a complicating issue. Large amounts of wind and solar power have been added to the grid in the last year, and their inability to feed energy around the clock to the aging power network can destabilize it. While a vast expansion of industrial-sized batteries to store the energy is helping, there's not enough storage to solve the problem. At the same time, aging gas and coal plants are being retired. This is an issue for the regional power grid that serves 15 states from North Dakota to Louisiana, where there will be less power available this summer than last summer. While utilities have been rushing to bring new gas plants online, the pace at which they can move is outstripped by surging energy demands. Supply chain delays and transmission bottlenecks have pushed the time it takes to bring a new plant online to 3 or 4 years. Similar issues are plaguing the ability of grid operators to complete basic upgrades to the network of power lines and transformers that are the bedrock of the U.S. energy electricity system. The report warns of shortages of parts, materials, and skilled technicians, causing delays in maintenance and installation of new transformers. I've been telling you guys this was going to happen, and the left-wing environmentalists have been denying it. Y'all, a solar panel does you no good at night or when it's cloudy, when it's raining. If it's hailing, they can shatter, and you got to replace them. I don't know if you know this or not. Those of you in Rio Linda, pay attention to this. When the wind is not blowing, a wind turbine produces no energy. When the sun is not shining, a solar panel produces no energy. So in our effort to emulate the failures of Europe, because environmentalists funded by China have demanded it, we have added capacity to our power grid that only work in optimal weather conditions. Nuclear power, coal power, and natural gas power and hydropower work 24/7, 365. They're tearing down dams out west for endangered species. They're having a hard time building nuclear power plants because the environmentalists scare people about them. They're shutting down coal-powered plants because they pollute, and natural gas-powered plants as well because of environmental conditions, and the environmentalists don't care about you. In fact, if you die because of a heat stroke this summer, the environmentalists will thank you for doing good for reducing carbon emissions. That's what this has come to. Better you die than be comfortable. That's the environmental motto of the era. Better you die than be comfortable. Better you die than we turn on a coal-powered plant. We have an amazing renewable energy in this country called coal, and they don't want you to use it. It's the one renewable energy source they don't want you to use. We have plenty of natural gas, and you know one of the problems with natural gas is that environmentalists and the Biden administration blocked natural gas lines. So we have a natural gas easement through our backyard. Kinder Morgan is in charge of it, and we've been getting notices from the energy regulators in Washington that they're looking at expanding and adding capacity to that pipeline. So they're going to tear up our backyard. Now, the way our backyard works is we've got like a close-in backyard and then a further backyard. It's the further backyard behind the trees that is the easement. That's the word I'm looking for, the easement. And there's a natural gas pipeline over there. And every few years they come through and they dig a big hole in the ground. They make sure that the line is good. They close it up. They put down new grass and they go away. In fact, my next door neighbors built a tee box in the easement so we can hit golf balls down the gas easement. Every once in a while they come through and we're restricted on stuff we can do with it, but now they want to expand it. It's one of the few they can expand because there's an existing easement. What the environmentalists are doing is they're working very hard to block new easements and new natural gas pipelines, making it harder to get new natural gas plants online. They don't want you to have nuclear plants, and they don't want you to have natural gas plants. So let's just say tomorrow that there are massive expansion of solar power. Let's just say tomorrow, every available square foot of land in the United States suddenly has solar power on it. Every available square foot of land has solar power on it tomorrow. Well, between the hours of midnight and 6 a.m. East Coast time, not a single square inch of that solar power is going to generate power. It'll be dark on the West Coast. Midnight, it'll be 9 p.m. out there. At 6 a.m., it'll be 3 a.m. on the West Coast. Still be pretty dark on the East Coast. Not a single square inch of solar power from midnight to 6 a.m. is going to produce any power. If every American were to turn on their lights during that time, thankfully everybody will be asleep. But it's not going to help. Now, let's say that there's big storms, multiple storms. Let's say there's snow out west and snow gets on the solar panels. In the east, there's rain. Not a single square inch is going to produce power. It's going to be the daytime. People are going to be freezing. They're going to want on their heat. Many of them will, because of the federal government's regulations, have switched to electric heat, not gas heat. And guess what? They'll freeze. It's going to be no production of power. Let's say instead of solar panels, every available square foot of land in this country has a wind turbine. If the wind does not blow day or night, they're going to produce no power. And the environmentalists are going to be fine with that. You got to build new base load power. Base load power, I think all of you know, is the power that when you flip the lights on, power comes immediately. The power grid that from coal-powered plants, from nuclear power plants, from hydroelectric dams, from natural gas plants, they're producing power 24/7. With hydroelectric, as long as the water's pouring through the dam, it's producing power. And in most cases, that's all the time. 24/7, 365. Niagara Falls, always producing power. The Hoover Dam, always producing power. Your nuclear power plant, always producing power. It's the solar and the wind that are the problem. And Europe went with solar wind. And guess what? Spain and Portugal had a more than 24-hour power outage because of their renewable energy. As more data centers come online in the United States, we're going to have more problems. And environmentalists see this as a good thing. Environmentalists actually do not see the problem. We are being governed by fools and malcontents who actually want people to have heat stroke and die. We're being governed by fools and malcontents who actually want the United States to regress economically because of a lack of power. We are being governed by fools and malcontents who are in many cases being funded by our enemies to advance an agenda that undermines the United States. China is building 10 coal-powered plants a month. We're not even building one. It's insane the amount of energy capacity China is adding while paying environmental groups in this country to file lawsuits and stymie the production of energy in this country. It is actually a threat to our existence as a nation, being funded by the Chinese communists through environmental front groups. Everybody knows it. Nobody likes to talk about it. And the fact is the Democratic Party is being held hostage by these people who want the lights out this summer in the United States. Now, to the phones, Arthur is calling. Welcome to the show, sir. How are you?
Great. Just a little tidbit. They don't know how to recycle these solar panels. There's a real problem.
I've heard about that there's so many toxic chemicals in them that they can't really recycle them well.
That's correct. And then you got the same kind of problem with the wind turbine blades, you know, these 200-foot-long monstrosities. And I just shudder to think about recycling all these bulk the batteries in these bulk storage.
No, Arthur, you would probably know better than me. Aren't the blades, aren't they like composite fiberglass, something on these wind turbines, and when they shatter, they just go to pieces?
Not an expert on that, but there's some issues with them. Life expectancy.
Go ahead.
Can they just make a law that the AI gets shut down if there's a powder shortage?
Some states are actually considering the regulators in those states because of the vast energy consumption. Some states actually are considering regulations on that. Yeah, so there's a story. Here it is. What is it? Martha Vineyard. The wind turbines there shattered in storms, and it was debris washed on shore. They had to have environmental toxic cleanup because of that's it. It's a fiberglass-based composite in the wind turbines that causes health problems and has chemicals in it that aren't necessarily good for people. They're putting these in the wind turbines, and when the wind turbine shatters in a storm or gets hit by too many birds, not only can they not recycle the birds, they can't recycle the wind turbines. This is what environmentalists want. And many of the solar panels, you should know, come from Chinese slave labor, but they're perfectly fine with the slave labor. These people, the environmentalists, want us to go back to the Dark Ages. The last time we depended on solar and wind power to keep things going was the Dark Ages, and we call it the Dark Ages. It is a toxic brew of America haters controlling our energy policy. Thankfully, the Trump administration's having none of it. Lee Zeldin, the EPA director, is expediting reviews in this country, as are the energy regulators for plants. And in red states like Georgia, Texas, and elsewhere, the energy regulators are embracing a build-out of baseload power that in states like California and New York can't happen because the environmentalists can block them. It's a dangerous game, these people. Listen, if California wants to have a blackout and stay blacked out all day, I don't have a problem with it. It's their choice, but I don't want it in Georgia. At least we got a nuclear power plant here to pick up the slack. Georgia is making good. Louisiana, elsewhere, they're doing good. It's places like New Jersey, New York, California, where the environmentalist regulators are shutting them down. Now, I got to tell you about Americans for Prosperity. Speaking of common sense conservative reforms, they are real big on common sense conservative reforms for the power grid and energy. Authorization of baseload power plants, making it easier to build. They support the president's tax cuts. They support school choice. They support small businesses. They would love to have you in their army of activists. You go to Americans4Prosperity.org to sign up today. I'm on their board of advisors. They go around the country helping them. They do great work at the state level, the local level. They do great work at the federal level as well. Americans4Prosperity.org is the website. You can sign up with AFP. They'll keep you really informed about the state of public policy in the country, or they can show you how you can reach out to your local legislators or your federal legislators to have a real impact on public policy. You go to Americans4Prosperity.org. You sign up today. They have chapters in just about every state. We would love to have you guys involved. Americans4Prosperity.org.
You're at the intersection of politics, news, culture, and current events. It's the Erick Erickson Show.
250 Cool Ray Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. Rush hour getting into full swing early today. Already stacked up into Midtown and downtown, heading southbound from the 85-400 merge down toward Cortlandt Street. Northbound slows University Avenue up into Midtown with 285 westbound delays between Dunwoody and Sandy Springs. Traffic brought to you by the Georgia Lottery. Tomorrow's Mega Millions jackpot is $122 million. Now with bigger jackpots, better odds, and a built-in multiplier. Drawings every Tuesday and Friday. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
On air,
online,
on the app,
where you get your news,
is where you'll win.
Download the WSB radio app now and maybe win $1,000.
Are you serious? The WSB 5K a day bonus blitz.
5 words, 5 times a day, every weekday.
OMG! Oh my goodness!
Just enter the word at WSBradio.com or on the WSB radio app.
Your next chance to win is coming up at 5.
The WSB 5K a day bonus blitz
on 95.5 WSB.
Hey homeowners, it's Erick Erickson. You wouldn't trust Mac with a jack to fix your home's sinking foundation problem, would you? I certainly wouldn't. Serious issues need serious experts at Engineered Solutions of Georgia. Their skills are unmatched, so are their foundation solutions. When these guys repair a problem, it's the last time you'll have to worry about it. Done once, done right. Start today with a free inspection. Go to ESOGrepair.com. That's ESOGrepair.com.
Dial 678 ESOG now.
If you've been taught that all bread is unhealthy, I'm here to tell you not if it's real bread. Hi, I'm Sue Becker from Bread Beckers with Sue's Healthy Minute. If you're struggling with weight gain, high cholesterol, constipation, even warts, or kids who seem to be constantly sick, come visit us at the Bread Becker store in Woodstock, where we have taught thousands of customers that real bread might be their healthy solution. I have a degree in food science, and for more than 30 years, I've studied the incredible health benefits of real whole grains and bread. I discovered that store-bought bread has had most of the nutrients in the grain removed during milling, and yes, even packages labeled 100% whole wheat. Make a healthy eating change in your life at Bread Beckers in Woodstock. We'll show you how bread, but only real bread, might be the answer to your family's physical ills. The Bread Beckers. Visit breadbeckers.com or our Bread Beckers store in Woodstock.
Hey, it's your buddy Shelley Winter here, co-host of The Car Guys with my good friend and brother, Kevin Deutsch, from Butler Lexus of South Atlanta. Whatever you want to know about buying, selling, leasing, or maintaining a vehicle, Kevin has your answers.
That's right, Shelley. For over 40 years, I've sold, leased, fixed, and financed pretty much every make and model. I've seen it all. If you have any car questions, we'll have the answers every Saturday at noon.
It's The Car Guys, Saturdays at noon on 95.5 WSB, brought to you by Butler Lexus of South Atlanta.
WSB Atlanta, WSB BFM, and HD1 Doraville. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's news and talk.
All the news, weather, and traffic you need. 95.5 WSB.
I'm Chris Chandler. When you join us Friday starting at 5 a.m. for Atlanta's Morning News, we'll get you ready for the weekend ahead with a rainy, maybe stormy forecast. How Clark Howard says you can tariff-proof your life. We'll travel to the Mideast, have our live Friday chat with CBS's Nancy Cordes to wrap up the president's very newsworthy trip there. And remember, our 5K a day bonus blitz continues. Your chance to win $1,000 coming up on 95.5 WSB.
On air,
online,
on the app,
where you get your news,
is where you'll win.
Download the WSB radio app now and maybe win $1,000.
Are you serious?
The WSB 5K a day bonus blitz.
5 words, 5 times a day, every weekday.
OMG! Oh my goodness!
Just enter the word at WSBradio.com or on the WSB radio app.
Your next chance to win is coming up at 5.
The WSB 5K a day bonus blitz
on 95.5 WSB.
Get the podcast, live stream, email, and social media links by texting Eric to 33777 now.
Hello there, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. Glad to have you with me today. Too late to get on the phones. My apologies, those of you still on hold. We've just had a lot to go with. So the reactions are now in from the people who have been listening to the Supreme Court's opinion today, or conversation today. There is, as I predicted to you in the very first part of the show today, the very first 10 minutes of the show, there's a lot of frustration among birthright citizenship advocates that the court didn't really spend a whole lot of time on birthright citizenship. Instead, the court focused on universal injunctions, and there does actually appear to be a consensus shaping them up among left and right commentators that the Supreme Court is going to take action on universal injunctions. The decision, given that it is May 15th, the decision is going to have to be made in the next month. We're going to start at, any day now, we're going to start getting the bulk of the Supreme Court decisions. They will probably now run the Supreme Court term closer to the end of June. We'll get this decision later. The first in, first out is generally how it works for the Supreme Court on decisions, but that's not always the case. We'll see. But I think the days of broad universal injunctions are going to go away, given the way that the court argue, or the court conversation went this morning. Now, got to move on to something else. The United States of America has a problem. You all know what the problem is. We are $36 trillion in national debt. The United States Congress wants a tax cut package that the President of the United States wants, and they can't figure out how to shape it. One of the ways that the Republicans have decided to shape it is to get rid of Joe Biden's Green New Deal. But there's a problem in the text of the legislation. They're not actually getting rid of the Green New Deal. What they're doing is they're saying we're going to get rid of it, but not until 2029, which will allow a future presidential administration to come in and preserve those tax deals, tax incentives for the Green New Deal. So the subsidies to buy electric cars is going to continue. The government subsidies to put in high power chargers is going to continue. The government subsidies for battery manufacturers are going to continue. All this stuff costs money. And the Republicans are playing a dangerous game with this bill. Now, you should know that Senate Republicans led by Ron Johnson and Rand Paul are saying it doesn't matter what the House comes up with. It's dead in the Senate because it spends too much. What Ron Johnson and Rand Paul and others in the Senate, Ted Cruz, Mike Lee, and others want is a return to spending levels of about 2019, arguing that we're done with COVID. We can begin to reduce the size and scope of the federal government accordingly. They're right. Question is, will the voters like those bigger cuts, or will there be big blowback? At this point, can I just tell Republicans time and time again, when the Democrats are in power, they're willing to make difficult decisions that cost them their power. Will you, Republicans, please make a few decisions that might cost you power? Do the right thing. Do the right thing. We've got to reduce our national debt. It is our greatest national security issue. We cannot fight a war against China that is probably coming if we are on the verge of bankruptcy. We got to get our fiscal house in order so we can take on the challenges of the world, and Republicans do not seem real serious about doing that. It is time for grown-ups in Washington to get together, make hard decisions, and axe the funding for Joe Biden's Green New Deal. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a great rest of the day.
WSB consumer expert Clark Howard.
This is a weird one. Gas prices have been going down around the country, but in Metro Atlanta, well, they've been going down elsewhere because the price of a barrel of oil has gone down so much. Prices popped up a dime, 15 cents, whatever in Metro Atlanta. And I want to tell you, this is a temporary event for us in Metro Atlanta because we go to a special blend of fuel in Metro Atlanta that's more expensive to refine as we move into warmer weather because the traditional blend causes really bad air pollution. So costs more to blend that, but once we get past this, you're going to see prices drop here just like they've been dropping around the rest of the country because there's a surplus of oil around the world, and so the price you and I pay for a gallon of gas headed down.
I'm Clark Howard.
News, weather,
traffic. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
At 3 o'clock, I'm Bill Caiaccio. News sponsored by Nelson Exteriors. Our top story: criminals preying on communities with reckless disregard for human life. WSB's Veronica Waters reports live. The feds announced today new gang arrests in Georgia.
Yeah, Bill, the racketeering indictment paints a picture of a gang quite literally in the business of crime, says the FBI's Brian Osden.
Our investigation uncovered, and the indictment alleges that this gang's leadership, its members and associates, just like a large business, held board meetings